A little bit. All right, we are live. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the session of the Masculinity podcast, where we focus on male improvement, masculinity, and purpose. As you guys can see, we have a panel of great fellows for tonight. This is the last Masculine Mind for 2022. We have a great show for you guys, great topic for you guys. Get your popcorn ready. Let's get it.
What are we arguing about?
A man is gonna do what a man wants to do.
All on your wrist. Make you my wife, you no longer my bitch.
Let's get it. My name is Will. I'm the host of this show, the number one Polynesian podcast in the world.
Dripping in Versace. All these other hoes trying to copy.
Women tend to bounce around in relationships. They can't stick and stay in a long-term relationship.
Again, don't agree with this. Just
So let's say, are you still in it? Are you still in it?
no. So you're basically saying I'm a whore.
This content is not suitable for the children under the age of 18 without adult supervision. Please be advised.
So I just wanted to take the time and make this video to apologize to absolutely nobody.
Love all the freaky things you do. My love was way overdue. That's when you came out the blue.
Welcome to another session of the Cover God Podcast. You guys already know my name is Will. I'm the host of this live show, number one Polynesian podcast in the world. Let's get it on. We have a great show for you guys. As you guys can see, we have a great panel of fellas for tonight. We have a great open Q&A for our last Mastermind podcast for this year, for 2022. As always, if you're tuning in for the very first time, thank you so much for tuning in. We have a great show for you guys. And of course, for everybody that subscribes to my channel, everybody that follow my content, support my journey on my podcast journey, thank you so much, everybody. I see you, MZ Carroll, like always ready on the live chat, popcorn ready. Shout out to you, MZ Carroll. And of course, I always shout out to BL17, always the first one showing some love on the live chat. Thank you so much, Bill 17. As always, appreciate you guys. Let's get that live chat popping. Don't forget that this is a public live stream, so always appreciate your feedback and your opinions, especially for this show. I would definitely get everybody to participate. This is a open Q&A, open question and answer of all you guys out there. So if any questions you guys may have, any topics that you guys want to ask us to discuss, this is the perfect time to ask us, and this is how we're going to finish off our Mastermind podcast for 2022. So let's get that live chat going. Let's get, if you have any questions, start asking us your questions on the live chat, and show some love to the panel, show some love to the podcast. Don't forget that this is a public podcast. I will post a link on the YouTube live chat. I know a lot of you guys have reached out to me asking me how do I get on the podcast. And I know I have got some a lot of ladies triggered on my DMs right now from a previous content I just posted the last couple of days. If you guys are watching this right now, want to be part of the podcast, I will put the link on the YouTube live chat. You can click on it. You can be part of the conversation and join us and be part of the panel. Nevertheless, don't forget the super chat donations. Always appreciate you guys supporting me financially with your pockets. Every donation goes back to my pockets, goes back to my podcast. Appreciate you guys. I have big plans for 2023 to get my podcast through there for you guys. If you have question topics or any questions that you guys may have, ask it through super chat. And if you just want to show some love and support, and just want to support the channel for the final Mastermind podcast for the year, I really do appreciate it, and drop a super chat. But thank you so much for everybody who always shows financial support to my podcast. But nevertheless, that's pretty much all my YouTube stuff. Let's get right into it, fellas. As always, shout out to the fellas real quick. And shout out to you guys in the live chat for always watching the Mastermind podcast. But fellas, as always, thank you for taking the time to be part of this last one for 2022. And and this is going to be a good one. We have a lot of great questions for you guys. So definitely have an open discussion and get your feedback and answers to it. As always, can you go ahead and give yourself a quick intro for everybody out there watching for the first time. I'll start with you, Joe. Joe, go ahead and give yourself a quick intro for everybody out there. Go ahead, Joe.
Hi, my name's Joe Promasio. I go by the name J Prime, given to me by the comment section down below. And currently, I'm based out of Salt Lake City area, Utah. I run a small-time design and marketing agency out of the Salt Lake area. and we cater to those that want to start their own business and stuff like that. Other than that, as usual, thanks, Will, for another opportunity being here.
All right, no worries. J Prime, as always, thank you for being part of the podcast. Appreciate you. Let me pass it to you. T, always good to have you back on the pod. T, go ahead and give yourself a quick intro for everybody out there, T.
What's up, everybody? My name is T. I can go by T, therefore I will be T. Will, it's a pleasure to be back. Professor J Prime. It was a pleasure to deal with you guys online, especially at the Discord. But yeah, I'm coming out of the Peninsula area, Bay Area, San Francisco, and looking forward to Q&A tonight. Let's get it.
All right, no worries, T. As always, thank you so much, man. Always good to have you back on. And last but not least, Professor, go ahead and give yourself a quick intro, especially for the haters out there that want to put your head on a spike. Go ahead, Professor.
Hello, everyone. Professor here, and look, I'm excited for this episode. In many ways, I'm excited that we have managed to go a full year without being cancelled. Looking forward to 2023, but also at the same time, I encourage anyone who dislike or have a different opinion to me to come on and have that conversation, especially men. If you're a full-grown man, leave the high school type bullshit where it's meant to be. Face me as a man, and let's have that conversation. And to any woman, lady who thinks I'm a misogynistic prick, look, conversation's there. See me in the podcast. But other than that, I'm excited. I'm really excited. So without any further ado, I'll give it back to you, Will, and let's get it.
All right, thank you so much. Appreciate Professor. Appreciate fellas. As always, thank you so much for being part of tonight's last one for 2022. We're gonna go out with the bang. And it was we just decided to do an open Q&A. I know a lot of you guys have a lot of questions. Sometimes a lot of you guys will reach out to me and ask me questions. And you guys, some of you guys did reach out to me based on my post on Monday on my story. Some of you did reply, and I have your questions written down here, so I'll definitely go one by one. And I just realized today there's a lot of you guys did reach out to me. I was checking my Instagram and I saw there's a lot of messages from the hidden messages. You know, sometimes when you guys send me a message, but because you guys we're not friends, it goes to a hidden, folder. So I actually found some of those messages for you guys are watching this right now, and I'm gonna read it out for tonight and respond to some of you guys. And I apologize if I didn't respond to a lot of you guys who support my podcast. You guys have sent me multiple messages, but I just never responded because it went to my hidden folder. So I'm apologize for you guys because I wasn't ignoring you guys. I always try to reply back to a lot of you guys who reach out to me on Instagram, especially on Twitter. Those are the two platforms a lot of you guys reach out to me. So I'll definitely make sure I make that a priority for a lot of you guys, and I definitely get a chance to respond and ask the fellas, and they'll definitely get a chance to respond to a lot of the questions you guys may have. Salsi, always good to see you, Toko. Go ahead and give yourself a quick intro for everybody out there.
Do I really need an intro? How about an outro? Hey, you guys, how you guys doing? Salsi Limao here. Good to see you all.
All right. Salsi, always good to see you. The man, the myth, the legend. And of course, everybody in the live chat, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will post a public link. And of course, everybody that's watching this right now, I know you guys have questions. You could either ask us a question that we could discuss as a panel, or if you have a specific question that you want to ask the fellas, even if it's personal, ask away. It's up to the fellas if they want to respond to you. But for a lot of these guys, I know they have an open mind. They're willing to share most of the things that we've gone through. So don't hold back. It's 2022. Don't be afraid. Don't hold back. The last time to be last Mastermind podcast for the year. Let's make it interesting. Let's have some fun. Let's have some good conversations tonight. So don't hold back. And of course, if
that sounds like
you're a hater, you get
don't hold back.
Don't hold back.
Don't hold back. No, okay, I got it.
All right, don't hold back, man. Especially if you have an opposing view. So if you disagree on a lot of the things we talk about on this, definitely this is the time. This is the time to click on that public link and definitely jump on and be part of the podcast. So fellas, I have some messages. I have some questions here from some of the people that reach out to me on Instagram and Twitter. I'm gonna read out some of them. Some of them were from the ladies. Some of them from some guys as well. And let's go ahead. Let's go one by one. We'll go rapid fire. I know we have a lot of questions to ask for tonight, so let's go through a rapid fire for everybody and try to answer as many of these questions as we can for tonight's podcast. All right. So let me read out the first one. This is the first message I got, the question I got. So I hope you guys are ready. It said, I'm a single 36-year-old woman, never married, no kids. I spent most of my 20s and early 30s pursuing a career. I've only been in one relationship which failed. The last few years, I've gotten baby fever and want to start a family. I don't want to work no more in my career. I want to have kids, start a family, and depend on a masculine man who can lead me. I've been listening to your Masculine Mind podcast. I finally realized why it's hard for me to find a man that I want, because I tend to be in my masculine because of my career, and most of the guys that I've run into are either too feminine or don't know how to lead, and they're still boys. So I want to ask you guys your thoughts on how can I attract masculine men, and also any tips on how I can be more feminine. So that was her question. So how do I find and attract masculine men? Because she said that most of the guys she runs into are mostly like feminine, or they're still in their boy phase, just trying to play around. And how can I be more feminine? And which is something that she's trying to work on right now. So so that's a question that she asked. Let me bring it up to you guys, and you guys can give me your thoughts on this topic. Let me start with you, Balafessa. Balafessa, what's your thoughts on this? How can she find masculine men, and also any tips on how she could be more feminine, because she wants to attract the masculine men?
Do we know what area she is in? Might be the area that you're in. The other thing too is that I've realized that a lot of the men that some of these women are describing are a dying breed, and it's unfortunate that that's happening. But understanding where the area is and what type of men you attract is going to be crucial to her, in my opinion. And not only that, look, trying to be feminine is in your nature. You don't try, you just be. And that's something I can't answer as a man. I can tell you what a man is, and I can tell you how a man acts. I can't tell you how a woman is and what she is. It is natural to you, and you'll find yourself in those natural elements of what a woman is. Be that. Don't try. You know what it is to be a woman. I can't tell you that.
And then any thoughts on how she can go to places to find more masculine men? Like that was one of her questions. Like, where do you find these guys?
Not at the bar.
Generally speaking.
Find a club, whatever. I don't know what it is that you do wherever the area is, but find a club where you can see the type of man whose leadership qualities are often developed there. Again, it's very hard to determine these type of things if I don't know what the area is, but find the things that you want your man to do, or idealistically, and look in those places. Do you want him to be an active, fit guy? Maybe at a gym or a local sports club. I don't know, if you want him to play chess, maybe a local chess club.
Okay. All right. Thank you all right. Thank you, Balafessa. Let me pass it to you. I'll pass it to you, J Prime. J Prime, what do you think? She wants to find a masculine man, the man that we often talk about on this podcast, and any tips how she can be more feminine? Go ahead.
As far as tips on being more feminine, I think Balafessa kind of hit it right on the dot. There's nothing that you can really do other than just be the feminine that you truly want to be. The more you can portray that onto a man, the more likely he is to be that masculine man that you want. As far as trying to look for these kind of men, I don't really know, to be quite honest. That's a hard one, just based off of the fact that we don't know where she's at. But yeah, I mean, just trying to find these men. I mean, Balafessa nailed it. in the coffin. And just if you want somebody who's going to be more sports conduit, go to a sports event, or if you want somebody who's more business related, go to a business event. That's one of the best ways. Just network how you would normally network for business if you are that ambitious masculine alpha female type, and then qualify the men that you're with. I mean, it's as simple as that. There's nothing really. That's a hard one.
All right, no worries, J Prime. As always, thank you. Maybe Sassy knows. Maybe he's the one. He's the.
I don't know, Jack.
Maybe he knows.
Yeah, there's no real good answer, right? There's no real good answer. The only way that I can see it happen is that she determines in how she's being, in the way that she's being, in the way she makes choices. She's the one that gets to decide what kind of man that she gets when she's having conversation with people. Like, she really has to look for herself. What is it that I truly want? And not pick, but be with people. And in the being with people, that she gets to choose who it is that matches what she truly wants in life. And like you're talking about, if you want somebody that's athletic, you go somebody that's very athletic, go to athletic people, and you be with them for a short period of time and see where they're at in terms of up here. So she really has to look for herself. The way that she is and the way that she's being really determines, and the way that she makes her choices is what she gets out of it. So good luck with being yourself and making choices that truly matters to you and has an impact on how you pick. Have fun. I think that's the thing.
Okay.
Is like, go have fun and just enjoy people for a short period of time. Not like you want to go out and get somebody in the next 2 weeks, next month, or next 4 months. No, this is a relationship building. You're going to have to go and pick the weaves and pick all the, you got to flip every rock that there is to find that one thing that matters, that you care about. Just enjoy the process. Have fun. Put
Okay.
your hair in.
All right. All right. No worries. Salsi, some sharing. Yeah, I think I have a friend of mine that was been on this podcast before, and she's trying to find a masculine man. And she said the things that she did. She took a job at what's it where you buy suits in America? It's a popular place.
Men's Warehouse.
Men's Warehouse. There you go. Men's Warehouse. Yeah. She took a part-time job at Men's Warehouse because she said that she likes men that wears in suits. So she took a part-time job at Men's Warehouse just for the purpose of she can meet more guys wearing suits.
Nah, she took that job so that way she could see how much he's willing to spend on the suit.
hey, that too, right? That too. 2 birds with 1 stone, right? He can make money and he can dress well. So, but nevertheless, yeah, that was it. I just thought about that. Yeah. You gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta go place whatever you want. Just like Palavesa and South said, just go to those places, and you might have a best of probability of running into those types of men. I'll pass it to you, T. T, what's your thoughts on that question? How can I find more masculine men, and any tips of how can I be more feminine?
Is she a single mom?
What'd she say?
No, she's not.
Is she a single?
No.
Oh, she's
No,
not.
she wants to. She wants to stop her career, have kids.
No, she didn't say.
No,
She didn't say. She did. No, she's not. She doesn't have any kids. No kids. Never married. She's she's been working on a career for the last in her 20s and early 30s.
Yeah, just go out. You got to realize that you're trying to be tough all the time. It tends to you're gonna catch on that it's kind of unnatural sometimes because you just wake up tired. You ever sleep for a long time and wake up tired? You're still tired, and then you wake up and you look at the side of your bed. Not only are you tired and alone. Just go out, go and talk to people. Stop being weird. Stop asking Will questions. You got to go do the work. You got to be the
Ooh.
guys, because, oh my God, you have to go out and talk to a lot of people. And then you
Woo.
understand how the guys take that approach to be, denied. You have to be comfortable with taking some L's and take your L's gracefully. As far as being feminine, I think that's a given. Once you come to find somebody who's able to provide for you, you're just going to give it up, not just the poom poom, but, but yourself too. But you have to go out. Doesn't matter who you talk to. The guys at Target, I mean, they got some decent leadership skills, I guess. Best Buy, wherever you want to go, if you're into like buying stuff, buying phones, check out the guys at Sprint or AT&T. Just go out, talk to a lot of people, and you can slowly weed out and try to find who you want to find. That's all I got.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Here's what I'm hearing just from listening to everybody else. Her what she talked about that she's tired of working on her job. Like, we got to take a look at how the feminist has built ladies to go take care of themselves and be very independent. Now, there's somebody I have it that has done all the work to make sure that she's independent. She's gotten somewhere where she's like, I'm unwilling at this moment to jeopardize, having a family, having somebody that can support her. And that's what I'm hearing. I'm not hearing anything else other than that the feminist has really pushed her to an edge where she realized that she's screwed up in life, that she has followed this trend of being very, very, very strong for herself, that she misses what it means to have a friendship, partnership, or relationship for herself. So that's what I'm saying.
It's either that or her family is the reason why she now wants to get into like serious relationships, because she sees everybody in her family, somebody's with somebody, they share the love together and work through their journey. So I'm it has to be a heavy influence, if she's reaching out to see how she can handle her femininity and how to find the right guys for her singleness.
I like it. The right guys for her singleness. Beautiful.
No, I think every woman has, they always talk about that biological clock. I think a lot of women, once they hit their 30s, they realize, that biological clock clicks in for them. And they're within, I don't know, motherly instincts or whatever. But I think most women realize, oh, wow, like I want a family and this is my chance to do it, because as I get older, it's going to be really hard for them to have kids. So good thing about men, like us fellas, like we can have kids all the way to our 80s. All the way. Oh, it doesn't matter. Right. It doesn't really affect us, but I think that's kind of, I can kind of empathize for it. And for a lot of ladies, like, man, they only have a certain amount of time for them to start a family, and that's a lot of pressure. So, all right, yeah, thank you, T. Thank you for sharing. And fellas, I just want to ask you guys real quick. You might just want to throw out these answers. Is there any places that you won't find masculine men? So places to avoid. I think Paulo said probably the club. Anything you want to throw out there? Places that you probably won't find any. What'd you say, T?
Say anywhere that's near Castro, near where you at. So you won't find it. I promise.
Castro, San Francisco.
Damn,
that's
T.
true. That's true.
That was a low blow. That
is true.
If somebody sees this, oh my God, they're gonna come for my neck. I promise you.
Well, Professor doesn't know what that is, and Jay Prime doesn't understand what that location is all about.
No, I know where that location is. My mom was raised in the Bay.
I'm just saying. You sit there like a robot. Just like
Dave Chappelle said. Dave Chappelle said Castro is the butthole of America. That's what Dave Chappelle said. I'm just repeating a joke.
I just want to be with Professor. He's at peace with himself at this moment, so I'm just going to be with him.
Yeah, I mean, look, someone's mentioned feminism. So women have to do a lot more than they typically used to do. You have to go out. You have to find people. We can offer advice to you, but at the end of the day, you have to do the work. You have to go and talk to people. If you find a man that gives you that vibe that most women use the term for, that gives you the manly man, the masculine man, go up and talk to him. And if he's married, say, well, have you got a friend that's single? You're the type of man that I want to be with, right? But if you're married, then do you have any friends that have similar values to you? You have to do the work now. Gone are the days where men approach women from the get. Those are gone. You're strong and independent now, so you have to do the work. Unfortunately, that's the society that we live in. So have conversation with people. Find out where they are, and you won't find out until you speak to people in general.
All right, no worries. Thank you, Paulo Fessa. and let me read some comments. Carol626 on the live chat. Appreciate you. My husband was my neighbor's cousin. LOL. January 25th will be 25 years of being together. All right, no worries. Shout out to you, MZ Carol, for your long marriage, and to your husband as well. 17, as always getting telling everybody, get the likes up. Let's get those likes up, everybody. I know you guys are watching this right now. Let's get those likes up. Don't forget to like us. The YouTube, the public link on the YouTube live chat. So, since it's the last Mastermind podcast and we do an open Q&A, if you guys don't have to turn on your camera, normally you have a camera on to be part of the panel and have a conversation with us. But since it is the last one for the year, and we just want you guys to come on and ask your questions or give us some feedback. You don't have to have your camera on. So if you just want to jump on, ask your question, or talk to us, definitely jump on, click on that link, and you don't have to have your camera on, and you can be part of the discussion. So just want to let you guys know. But let's go back to the next question. This question is actually one of somebody I know from church. So I recognize the name. Let me read out his question. Hey, Toko, love the podcast. My question is, my family struggles with money. My parents both working 2 jobs just to pay the bills. I don't want to go to college. I just want to start earning money to help out my parents. And after watching your podcast, big supporter. I don't want to work the same jobs as my parents. All my siblings work at the Eduyate. I want to do better than my parents. I love how you guys, Alfessa, Joe, you will have all shared that if you have made 6 figures. I've never met a Tongan that made 6 figures. That's pretty inspiring. That's something I want to aim for. Where do I start? And any advice how I can do that? He has no idea. So that was his question. And I actually know this guy. Shout out to you, man. Thank you. It's been a while, man. Last time I met him was like years ago in church. But I'll start with you. Joe. Joe, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this question? He's inspired by the things that we've shared here, especially the things that you guys do as far as professionally. Any advice? Just a young guy, just starting out of starting brand new. Where to start or how to take that journey?
Do we know how old this kid is? This guy?
I know. I think he's 22, 23.
So he's still pretty young. Okay, 1,000-hour skill set.
Yeah.
So that's my, because you're young, I would suggest going with 1,000-hour skill set, figuring out what skills or what niche you're good at, and then give a value-based proposition towards the way that you take in consideration of your payment. What I mean by that is, instead of trading your time for money, trade the outcome for the money that you directly want. So the outcome of your skill set should produce the money that is valuated towards that skill set, whether it be something like me, where I'm a designer, editor, marketer. I have skill sets that stack upon each other, that I can give a value-based proposition based off of the timeline that somebody gives me, or based off of the outcome of what that skill set provides. And so that's what I would suggest. Other than that, I would highly suggest you get into sales. Sales will teach you a lot that you need to know. I mean, myself, I've been in sales for 5 years before I even gone down the entrepreneurial pathway. And even stacking skills. So I didn't even do the whole entire 1,000-hour skills, the 1,000-hour skill set thing until after I had already gotten out of sales. But sales is one of the fastest ways that you can pick up good quality leadership skills. You'll pick up really good persuasion skills. You'll pick up good communication skills. You'll get a better understanding of the people that you are around. You'll become a little bit more self-aware. You'll have intention behind every decision that you'll make, and fuck it up, put in that 1,000 hours, and you'll eventually become good at something. You know, you don't always have to do perfect every single time. You just need to be perfect when it counts, when you're in this stage, because you're younger. And so that's what I could recommend as of right now. Other than that, and he's in the California area, right? Will?
Yeah, he's in Cali. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Another
he's
thing
in
that you can
California.
look at is, I mean, content is banging now. I mean, we're on this podcast. You can really dive into the whole entire content thing, whether it's you know, a niche that you're good at or a skill set that you have. Like I said before, either one or the other. I mean, so yeah, that would be my suggestion. Sales, value-based proposition payment, stacking your skills, putting in 1,000 hours, or going the line of content, creating content, and also just really trying to figure out what you're good at. So this is the time to fuck up. So you're lucky you're still young. I'm not too much older than you, but if you're listening to this, you're still in my consideration, you're still young. I'm still young. You still have time to fuck up. I would say give yourself about 3 more years before you finally decide on what you want to do, unless you want to accelerate that path.
All right, no worries, J Prime. Thank you so much for sharing. And I see KTS. I see you just posted a topic question you want us to discuss. Kay, I'm definitely gonna bring that question up for being part of the open Q&A. I'm definitely gonna make sure we get the fellas to respond to your question. Of course, if you want to jump on, last podcast of the year 2022, Kay, might as well jump on and be part of the conversation. And let's end the year with a bang. But thank you so much for watching, Kay. Brother Fix, I'm gonna pass it to you. What's your thoughts on just starting out? You're so young, guy's whole life ahead of him. He wants to strive for that 6-figure. Any thought on that?
You already have the 6-figure sitting in some of those men's brain right now. So you mentioned something that's very important, iate. The vast majority of your family are doing iate. And you're very young too, under 25, I'm guessing. Go and develop a relationship with the men in your life, especially your father, and ask them this question. What would you do differently? If you got to start this whole journey again with all the knowledge that you have, what would you do differently? And how would you do that differently? There's a wealth of knowledge sitting in a lot of those men's head. Their circumstances just won't allow them to pursue them. You do. You have the time. If you don't want to go to college, study the men around you. And I would advise you to get into iate. And the reason being is you need to build a gut for this world. And an iron gut at least. Go and break your back so you know what a real man does. Not a real man, but that's how I define it anyway. Knows what a man is capable of. Truly when the chips are down. But use it as a tool. By the age of 25, 26, 27, start specializing in certain areas. But when you do break your back, look for opportunities where you can refine the current system that everyone around you does. Look for the opportunity where you can do something different that will benefit whatever that arena is. Skills are translatable and they're compound over time. You have a wealth of people that you can steal the knowledge and the skill set that they already have at your fingertip. Utilize that. You already got, if you compare this to anyone else who's starting from the ground, you're already probably 5 steps ahead of whoever your family members are being in iate. Your goal now is to extract that value and to apply them. But if you look out, and this is why I love the masculine mind, if you look out into the world, there's a lot of men who lack strength, true strength. And they lack it because they don't know what dirt feels like. They don't know what it feels like when your face is truly in it. And to come home completely wrecked at every part of your body. You're made of rubber at the moment. Use it to your advantage. When you get closer to your 30, that's when you start to specialize. That's my advice. But if you want to make six figure, a lot of those men already have the ideas in their head. They just don't have the time. You have the time, not the skill. Extract the value and the skill from them.
Okay. All right, brother Fessa. Thank you for sharing. Let me pass it to you, Salsi. I know, Salsi, you have your own business. You're an entrepreneur. Anything you want to add on to his question and his thought? I know you have a lot of knowledge on that. But go ahead, Salsi.
Yeah, I mean, J Prime and Professor, you said some pretty powerful stuff. I would definitely say, take your time in developing yourself. Like, don't give in to that you have to do this and you have to do that in a world that you have to survive. Like, really take your time figuring things out for yourself. It may be like you have to figure out, why are you stuck? Like, why is it like you're taking on your parents, you don't be like your parents? Like, why is that? You really have to take a look. What is it that you want to do, that you want to live into, that would make you happy? It doesn't always have to be a sacrifice. But you can really take your time in doing something for yourself that makes you truly at peace with yourself. And you'll figure it out. Just trust that every single one of us has gone through what we all gone through, has to go through our process of life. And it doesn't have to look perfect. There's no such thing as perfection. And like, we're throwing out numbers of what age you should be. And that's in the world of like, I have to do something. I have to be a certain thing at 20, at 25, and 30. No, you don't have to. It's not in a world of I have to do shit. You don't have to do absolutely nothing. But when you choose to do something completely different for yourself, that you're enrolled in who you are and what's possible for you, then you'll do it. Not because you have to do it because you're going to be 25 soon or 30 soon, but when you choose powerfully for yourself, that you're enrolled in yourself and what's possible for yourself, like making $600,000, right? When you get involved, if you're really truly enrolled in that finance and you go, what do I need to do from here on to get there? And you structure and you set the structures in monthly and your daily work that you need to do make sure that you get up there. So that you fall in love what you do, not in a world of in order to. In the world of in order to is there comes stress and everything that goes with it. We are the way that we are today because we're doing things because we have to do it or we need to do it in the world of surviving. It's unnecessary these days. Like J Prime said, like there is a content maker that you can, if you want to do that for a living, it's easy. You don't have to stress about it. But if you do it because you love to do those things, it just becomes part of who you are. Another one, you don't want a distinction work and what you do for live for. You don't want a distinction work. Say, this is what I have to do for work in the way that I live my life. If you have it that you do life and work is just part of it, you then live into life. But if you have to do work is up here stressful and life is down here. Make it that work and life is one thing so that way you can live into peaceful being. Have fun.
Okay. All right, Salsi. No, yeah. Thank you for sharing, Salsi. Pass it to you, T. T, any thoughts you want to add on to this, T? Go ahead, T.
I think the three of these guys have had some very wise words of encouragement. You got big tech, you got the opposite, construction, and then fitness. I mean, pick and choose what works for you is what I say. I've had to reset from being in the same industry J Prime was in and restructure my focus on something that bothers me with my community, which is health. Right? All you Samoans know exactly what I'm talking about. All the poise and the 400-pound of clogged arteries. It's just trying to have the approach. And that was my thing. That's my niche. And then I had time to focus on music. So pick and choose. But my only advice or an add-on is don't continue to research the same thing, even though you know you figured out what you want to do. You want to research, and so you can have some sort of assurance and some confirmation. Oh, this is what I'm supposed to do, and then, but next thing you know, it's at the end of the year. So don't remain stagnant. Um, Trying to always look up stuff. Find resources. Put yourself out there. Network. I think, Will, you have a great story of when you was in retail, having to walk and knock all the doors. I mean, if you have to do that, go ahead and do that. But my advice is just don't find your niche and then just sit on it, just trying to research and just, oh, should I be doing this? Now you're just procrastinating and you're questioning yourself. But you'll never know until you take the first step. And if you fail on the first step, you only fail if you don't try at all. That's all I got.
Okay. All right. No worries. Thank you for sharing that, T. All right. Yeah, I just want to, just share my part, and I'll pass it to you, J Prime and Paulo. I know you wanted to add. I guess just to my thoughts on it, I do agree with J Prime that if you want to make money and you want to make as much money as you can, especially at a very young age, the best way to do that is to get into sales. My previous job before this, I think I shared this on the podcast before, I did door-to-door sales for 8 years before I started doing podcasting. I've been doing podcasting for 2 years. So I haven't made six figures the last 2 years, but 8 years before that, I've always made six figures on my sales job. And I just ran, and I just happily I luckily just jumped, found that job. I just applied online, and that was the first job that gave me a shot after to work here in the United States. And I just took the job with an open mind, and money. And if you want to go to sales and go into a commission-based job where you can control your income, you can control how much money you make, and that's what I was able to do. My job at the sales was 100% commission. Everything with my paycheck every single week, it was always based on the efforts, and that's why I love sales. That's always I have a love for sales, because I can control my income, I control my destiny, I control what I'm worth. So if that's what you really want, and also want to throw it out there because I know you're Tongan, and I met you a couple of years ago, and I know Celsia, I know you shared your piece, but I want to say this to you: there's nothing wrong if you're motivated by money. If you're motivated by money, and that's what gets you up in the morning, because that's what got me up in the morning every single day to work 15 6-hour shifts for eight years and making $100,000 a year. It was the money. It was the money. I was motivated by money because I grew up in Tonga and I saw poverty. I saw my parents struggle, and that's what fired me up every single day. And when I got my first $2,000 paycheck in 1 week, where I was making $300 in tips working at a pizza shop, that blew my mind. That was life-changing for me. So I know sometimes in the Tongan culture in the Pacific Islanders, we were taught that money is evil. That it's you have to, if you make money or make a lot of money, if you focus on money and you put that as a priority, that's oftentimes is a bad thing. But if you do it, like I said, money is a tool. It's not good or bad. It's how you use it and the purpose that you use it for, the people that you are responsible for in your life. And I just wanted to support my parents. I just wanted to give myself a better life and take care of my family. And that's what motivated me. So yeah, that's just my thoughts on it. You have your whole life ahead of you. But if you really, really want to make money, and you really about that life, and you want to put in that work, go into sales and go find a job that has a commission. Either there's a percentage of commission on it, or if you're really about it and want to challenge yourself, this is only for the real. If you're really about it, 100% commission. If you don't work, you don't get paid. That'll light a fire up your ass. Get up every single day, because there is no days off. If you don't work, you don't get paid. That's 100% commission. A lot of people can't handle that. That's why a lot of people go to hourly pay, because you can do nothing all day and still get paid. You can't do that 100% commission. You have to work. You don't work, you don't get paid. And and I love that. I love that pressure, and I thrive off that. So I just wanted to add on that if you're watching this right now.
I think what Professor also said earlier about having men go and break their back, not in like little way, right? But really going and figure out what's truly hard. Like when you do construction, it really takes a lot mentally and physically. And if you can get there and work for a year, like really understand what it really means to get up early morning and go to work, knowing the impact that it has on you on the physical being and the mental capacity, that you get to go break your back and understand how much you have to work to make that kind of money. And are you willing to do that for a lifetime? Or you get to choose that, like, I'm going to do something that takes some brain to actually go to work, right? And go use my brain, like, as they say, like work smarter and not harder. And I'm not saying that construction is it's any of that, right? Because you still have to work smart and hard at that work. But what I'm saying is, majority of kids are unwilling to go into that field because they know how much work that they have to put in. What I heard because I had to sit back and really listen in my own thoughts about what he said. If you can go out there and put yourself in that position and know how much work that you have to put in, you'll definitely see value in everything else. And I'm going to second that. Like, go out and go do something that you've never done before, that you know that it's gonna require some mental and some physical work, so that you can understand your value and you can understand who you are. Is that the kind of person that you could be, or you can become bigger and better up here and do something completely different, like J Prime talked about, right? But you can really test a man through that kind of work. Go test yourself. Go through that kind of hard work, that labor, so that way you can know what you're capable of doing. Because once you get the taste of construction and the kind of energy and the kind of man that you have to be, you can see what's possible after that. Yeah, it's a great conversation, man. I really love it. Thanks for bringing that up, Professor, because I got it. I did construction for, I think it was 3 years. And, my father was a carpenter, and he also did construction. I hated every second of it. Even in my top condition, I hated every second of doing and waking up at 5 o'clock, sometimes I have to be at the spot at like 5 o'clock in the morning. I would have to wake up early, go to the office, pick up the truck, and go pick up materials and go deliver it, and have to be there at 6 o'clock. But to wake up at 4 o'clock every morning and I'm not done for 8 to 10 hours, and then come back and I'm exhausted, it really challenged me. I went like, holy cow, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. I don't know how my father did it, and I'm not going to do that. So take that on and really go and work something you've never done before, that you know it's going to take some mental and physical ability, so you can figure out where you're at up here and go from there.
Yeah. To every young man, and this is why it's very important to me, is that hard work is the only teacher of men and manhood, the type of man that we discuss, hard work. And the point of what I'm trying to explain in terms of laborious work is that the point is not to die in the same boots that you walked into that site, whether that site or whether it's a farmland or whatever it is. The point is to hand off those boots and to own the company that make those boots. That's the whole idea, and that's how I've made my money. One couple of things that you can do and start right now is this. Go to your local warehouse that stocks stationery and get you a journal. One that is big enough that you can write down your day in. And the whole point is to document your days. But more importantly is to start documenting your goals and how you're going to achieve it. Regardless of whatever it sounds like, whatever it looks like, even if it's not robust, not to the degree that a lot of people have their goals set out. The second one is a very important one, is to document the problems that you go through in life and the solutions that you figured out in solving those problems. You will find over a lifetime that those documents come to you in ways that you will never imagine so. And the reason why I say that is problems comes in different shape and sizes and different forms, but the solutions often applies to more problems than ones. That is the important thing about journaling and documenting your life. The second one is learn how to negotiate. It's a very important skill for me. Learn how to negotiate, and you start by standing in front of the mirror and negotiate with yourself every morning. Oh, you don't want to get up? Stand in front of the mirror and go, shit, I don't feel like turning up at 6 a.m. in the morning. But I know that there is a bigger reward at the end of this journey. That reward looks to me as whatever your goal is. I get to buy my parents their first house. I get to retire my wife. I get to give my children the schooling and the education I didn't want to get. That's the whole goal. And by negotiating with yourself first, when you go out into the real world, especially in the world of men, you learn how to negotiate with other men. And anyone who's ever made it anywhere is a good negotiator. A great negotiator at that. Learn the way that... Watch people who move in places where you want to end up in. Study who they are, how they speak, what sort of language they use, how did they stand up, how did they command authority, and start writing that down, start documenting it, and focus on one thing at a time. Okay, this man seems to be standing up straight, shoulders back, chest out. Okay, how do I do that? Be conscious about that for the next however long. Once you get that down on pat, how does he speak? What sort of vocab does he use? Does he say go, or does he say transform and move forward? Right? Study these things. There are a wealth of knowledge everywhere you look. But start negotiating with yourself. This is why hard work is always, or will always be a proponent for hard work. But the goal is not to die in the same boots you walked in with. The goal is to buy the company that makes those shoes.
Okay. All right, Jay, probably want to add on real quick?
Yeah, so I mean, Paul Fessa kind of said what I wanted to say, but
Shit out of luck. Shit out of luck.
yeah, I'm shit out of luck with our panel tonight. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, if for one, you're located in California and you're in the Bay Area, if you really want to just hit the 6-figure mark, if you're not worried about time, get into financial services out in like Cupertino. It's not too far from where you're at. Okay, so you'll eat shit for about 3 years, but then you're guaranteed to make $1 million after about 7 years. That's normally when you become vested. The only reason why I know this is because prior to me getting into construction and, you know, getting to where I'm at today, I wanted to get into the financial industry. The reason why is because you're pretty much guaranteed to become a millionaire within 10 years. You're pretty much guaranteed. And with you living in the state of California, I mean, that's financial services is unlimited. I mean, if you really want to make good money in financial services, move down to like move to like Hollywood or Bel Air, or I mean, where else? The Hollywood Hills. I mean, when you're running finances for multi-millionaires, you automatically qualify yourself to network within those millionaires. And if you're worried about your color or like, you know, just with being Polynesian, just give it that 1,000 hours. The reason why I say 1,000 hours is because you'll know if you fucking hate a job after 1,000 hours. You'll know for damn sure. Like, you'll know for sure if you hate that 1,000 hours, whether it's good money or not. And for me, I was, previous to doing what I do now, I was working construction as a heavy equipment specialist. And so I was making relatively good money, especially living here in Utah. And what got me into the mode of, you know, leading down the solopreneur path and then becoming an entrepreneur, it's prudent that you actually do what you're saying, do what you say you're gonna do. And T brought this up. Don't get stuck in the research thing. And there's a word for it. It's called analysis paralysis. And also, when you're consuming content to gain knowledge, there's this saying out there. I'm paraphrasing, of course, that if you consistently see something, that means you know how it's done, you know how to do it, and you know what you can do to improve it. You just have not committed to doing it. And that's the reason why you continuously see it over and over and over and over again. It's because it's your brain reminding you that, hey, you haven't done anything about this. And you need to take in consideration the people that you're around. You know, if you don't want to go down the construction pathway, I mean, you could easily make 6 figures in construction just being based out of California. There's a whole bunch of jobs in construction that you can make the 6-figure mark. I mean, you can go get your operator's license through the public safety out in the state, get state certified, and then within 2 years, you'll hit that 6-figure mark. Now, what you take home in the state of California is totally different. You know, I mean, you know, if you want to have 6 figures that you take home, you need to make at least $160,000 on your check. So take that into consideration as well. You know, where are you located? You know, for a good thing, you could go out to like places like what is it called? Vegas. Vegas is not too far from you guys. You know, or you can move up to Washington. Those are both 0 tax income states. You know, Nevada and Washington. And so you want to take that into consideration, and then also, you know, Paul Fessa said this. You know, get around the people who are doing the things that you want to do, or get around the people who are making the kind of money that you want to make. You know, you are in California. There's like unlimited amounts of money around you. Get around those kind of people. Go to those events. Go out to the club and figure out, okay, who are all the bitches crowding around it? Okay, I want to talk to that guy. I want to see what he does. You know, and be willing to offer your services. Do anything that they're willing to give you for free. Because there's nothing else that you can do if that's the route that you want to go. Okay, so if that's the route that you want to go and you don't want to do any of the construction thing, you know, you don't want to do the whole entire wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I mean, dude, I've been there, waking up 4:30 in the morning. I've worked in the oil fields prior to being a heavy equipment specialist. And so it's like, I know what it's like working a laborious job. But just so you know, it's going to be mentally taxing once you lead that pathway in becoming a solopreneur or an entrepreneur, whichever one you choose or decide. Because I thought that I would get fat getting into big tech. I thought I was going to be lazy as fuck, eating snacks all the time. Yeah, that wasn't the case. I was mentally taxed out far more than what my construction job had ever put me through on laborious work. You know, I was burnt out mentally, emotionally, and physically. And so I'll leave it there for now.
Yeah, and I think just a little add-on is also the question of how do I make 6 figure is an incomplete one for me. How do I make 6 figure and still be and develop the type of man that I seek and adore in the truest sense, not just out in the professional career, but also in the homes that you want to bring up. What does that look like to you, right? How do I earn 6 figure and still be the man that looks like Xiao Wei Mao or J Prime or T or Will? Those are the truer question, because a man who earns 6 figure and still a pussy is still a pussy. You just have money, right? So that question is incomplete in that sense. Ask the question, how can I earn 6 figure, 7 figure, 8 figure, and be the same type of man that is the type of character that I want to be? The man of integrity, the man of honor, masculine man, the man that a family can depend on, especially when the chips are down. I think that's a much more important question for men nowadays to ask, rather than just asking, how do I make 6 figure? I know 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figure men who are just pussies at the end of the day. So that's why I try and have conversation with men is the money is not important. Can you have the money and still have the same level of character that you admire in men?
All right. No worries, fellas. Thank you so much for sharing. We're gonna have to go.
Go ahead. I'm good.
No. I'm saying we are starting to get some questions from the live chat, and I still have a lot of questions to go over. So we're gonna have to go rapid fire. Guys. And this is rapid fire for these questions. So all these questions out and answered on tonight's podcast. So Kay just came on. Kay, thank you for so much. Shout out to you. Thank you for being part of the podcast. Fellas, let's go rapid fire. Her question on the live chat, she said, how do you leave? What advice would you give women stuck in toxic relationships? So let's go rapid fire for Kay's question. Let me start with you. T, what's your thoughts on KTS question? What's your advice, T, for women who are stuck in a toxic relationship? Go ahead, T.
You should get out. Get out before it's too late. I would say there's a flip side to it, but I mean, nowadays, It's very crazy. If it's getting to the point where it's toxic, if it's toxic now, you can only imagine what's going to happen later on, and before then, it's too late. And you don't want to be too late for something worse happens. If it's toxic, just get out. There's plenty of fish in the sea. That's why that saying exists. And just to simplify it, I know it's rapid fire, but get out of it. Run for the hills if you have to.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
tough.
All right,
man.
T, thank you for sharing. All right, run for the hills. Kate, what's Chelsea? Yep.
I have it's really tough, right? Because majority of people that are in a toxic relationship don't really know that they're in a toxic relationship. They're so afraid of what is going on in their head and what could and what will not happen that they're stuck in the way that they are. So I think that the first thing to do is really have a conversation outside of, and not be so afraid to have a conversation outside of that relationship, so that somebody could hear it differently for themselves, right? Because the moment you can have a conversation outside of what you're going through, then there's somebody that's actually listening for something completely different. So share what the hell you're doing with your loved one, with other people, so that way they have your back. Because majority of girls that are going through toxic relationship don't have the courage, they won't have the courage to have that big conversation about what my man is doing to me, right? And it has to be, their power is out here into communication to make sure that happens. So talk it out. Don't talk to that person that you're going through. If it's already talking, it's talking. The next thing for you to do is go have a bigger conversation with somebody that's outside, so you can get something new for yourself.
Yeah, the other thing to that too is define toxic, because as I understand it, most people throw out that word as a buzzword nowadays. Is it toxic in the sense that you feel unsafe and you feel that this man is endangering your life? If that's the toxic you're defining, go away. End that relationship. There will never be a point where you're not going to feel unsafe. But if the relationship is toxic because you feel unloved, that's manageable. And what Xiaoxi was saying about communication, does this person know that they are unloving to you? Or is it just become a natural way of responding to things in your relationship? Have a conversation. If you feel unsafe, leave. If you feel unloved, have a conversation. Because I bet you that there are qualities in there that man display that you love and that you adore. Those qualities aren't coming out to the extent that you want it, maybe because you haven't had that conversation. Being unsafe and being in danger is a completely different story. If that's what you're defining, leave. Right? Simple as that. But if it's because there's things like, oh, he's unloving, he doesn't speak to me the way that other men speak to their wives and all these things, sit down and say, this relationship is far too important for me to ruin, and you're too much of a man for me to let go, that I'm not going to allow us to just give up on this relationship. Can we have a conversation? And this is, if you do not have the capacity to have a conversation, then I'm at my wit's end and this is going no further. If we can't have that, then I have to walk away. But we have to define what these terms mean, because oftentimes it's used as a buzzword. Oh, he's never at home. He's such a toxic person because he never tells me how he feels, or he does this. Define what it means, but there is no bargaining with feeling unsafe as a woman. If you are unsafe, leave.
All right, no worries. Thank you so much, Balafessa. I'll pass it to you, J Prime. J Prime, yeah. What's your thoughts on the toxic? What's your advice for women leaving a toxic relationship? Go ahead, J Prime. Rapid fire.
Well, I mean, you said it best. The real question is why stay in a toxic relationship? So, no, the way to escape that or move forward from that is, I mean, Siasi made a good point. Communication is key. A while ago, I had to have a certain conversation with my wife in order to do what I do today. And if it wasn't for my wife's sacrifice, I wouldn't be able to do what I do today or make the kind of money that I make today. So it's like, if you can lay out a plan and, just echoing what Siasi had said, if you can lay out a plan, give guidelines, set rules, in that, maybe you guys can try to work it out. I would try to work it out first. But if you really feel that just like what Paulo Festa said, if you feel like you're unsafe, then I mean that's to the point where it's already out of hand. You know, my wife and I, we have a rule of the moments that cops get involved, we're done. There's no more trying to manage this. This has gone too far. There's no reasoning anymore. It's too much. And so that's mine and my wife's rule, is that the moments that cops get involved is the moment that we both fucked up together. You know, and that's the way that we see it. You know, our dynamic is a little bit different than most relationships out there, but that's the dynamic that we have built with each other. So if you guys can figure out what your guys' dynamic is and figure out the communication skills that you guys need necessary, then I would suggest moving forward from there and figuring out what you can do. But like Paulo Festa said, if you feel unsafe, there is no reason why you should be there anymore.
All right, no worries. Thank you, J Prime. I see KTS on the live chat. She said, LOL, I'm not in a toxic relationship, guys. I'm asking for a felony hoy. That's all. That's what they always say. I'm asking for a friend, which means me. It's all good. It's okay, Kay. It's all good. It's all good. It's you. It's all good.
I was just asking for my friends, best friends, dogs, cousins, aunties, uncles, nephew.
Z007, thank you for jumping on. I just want to add on real quick, and I'll pass it to you if you want to add on to that question. I agree with Paulo Festa, define toxic, but yeah, if it's physical, then you have to absolutely leave. If it's a physical, if toxic means physical abuse or he's touching you or he's beating you, then you have to leave. But I will just add on, a lot of times when I have conversations with women and they talk about a toxic relationship, oftentimes they speak on it when it's always the man's fault. So I just want to throw it out there. I understand that that's why Paulo Festa and Jay Prime say you have to sit down and communicate, but it takes two to be part of a relationship. It's oftentimes if one person is not giving you what you want, maybe sometimes you have to look within yourself. Maybe it's probably something that may start with you. So I'm just want to add that real quick for your friend. But I know a lot of times when I have conversations with women, oftentimes they say toxic. It's like 90% of the problem is the man. But then in a relationship, it goes both ways. So maybe if the man's not responding the way you want him to be, maybe I want to ask her, so maybe it's just something that you're not doing for him to react that way, and vice versa. But that's why the communication part is important, so you guys can talk it out. But yeah, oftentimes when I talk to women, a lot of times it's all the man's fault. So it takes two to tango. So then you guys gotta have that conversation, and he needs to be open. As if you want him to if you want him to change and do and communicate with him, just be open to allow him to communicate his frustrations and his problems to you, and that's going to take for both of you guys to improve on certain things. But just be open to look within yourself first. I know sometimes people don't want to look within themselves first, and just always want to focus on the other person. Z007, thank you for jumping. Thank you for jumping on. Anything you want to add on to the conversation? Leaving toxic relationship. We're just going rapid fire, and I'll come back to you, Celsi. I know you wanted to add on something, and I'll come back to you, Celsi. Z007, go ahead.
I'll keep it short. Can you hear me?
Yep.
You can hear me? So toxic relationship. I would say right where Paulo Festa said, you got to define toxicity, and I think on a spectrum, but many relationships and individuals are toxic to an extent, to a degree. I'll give an example. A lot of women, they love that drama. It's what stimulates. It's what makes it fun and entertaining. And so the women can be like, yeah, he's so toxic, but she still likes that toxicity. She's attracted to it. So it's like, you got to define it. Because a woman can say, yeah, he's toxic, he's masculine, right? You always hear toxic masculinity, but you don't hear toxic femininity. So you got to define it at the same time, but women love that toxic. They love the drama, especially if the guy can stir it up and it doesn't faze him. So this, for the guy asking the question for a friend, I mean, it's pretty simple. If you have options, don't be afraid to walk away. You know what I'm saying? A guy with a strong frame, or Paulo Festa's language, God complex, he's either going to check her, set boundaries, and if she's not adjusting or making adjustments, then don't be afraid to just walk away. walk away from that relationship. There's many other women out there.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Z007. Pastor G. South, you want to add on real quick, and then we'll move on to the next question. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's always a mistake that we always blaming women for their toxin, right? Also consider that men are very toxic by themselves. And the moment that we get to say it's a woman's problem that they're toxic is the moment that you have to look at yourself.
Right.
We as men. So this is the part where I don't like to generalize our conversation, because we often make women wrong when in fact what we should do is take a look at what the hell are we saying that makes women feel the way they feel. What are we doing as men to have women say that the relationship that they're in is toxic? So if we're responsible with the way that we talk and the way that we are women, then we are just the way that we are. There's nothing else that women can say or do, because if we're being the man that we're supposed to be for ourselves, then there's no conversation to be had on the other side.
Toxic.
Right? There's nothing else to say on the other side. Now, if a woman is being the way that she is, and a man hears that he's toxic, then there's some work that needs to be done. But the first thing that we need to do as men is to look at ourselves. What the hell am I doing that appears on the other side that I'm toxic? That a relationship is very toxic. Take a look. Can't blame women. Blame yourself.
Okay. All right, Chelsea. Thank you for adding that on real quick. I appreciate you, KT, and your friend that you're asking for. Maybe yourself, but as always, thank you so much. And if you want to jump on, definitely jump on, KT. I would love to have you on. But let me go to the next question. Marlena Davidson, sitting on the live chat. She had a question for us in the live chat. She said, what advice would you give to insecurity guys? I guess guys who are insecure. Man, that's kind of a very general question, but let's just go rapid fire. I've heard that from a lot of women. A lot of guys are very insecure. So they like a lot of women say they want a confident man. But yeah, we'll just go rapid fire. What do you guys want to add on to that? I'll start with you, J Prime. J Prime, what's your thoughts on that question? What advice would you give to guys who are insecurity guys who are very insecure?
I don't know. I've never had that issue. Fuck. I mean, it comes down to,
it's okay to pass. It's okay to pass.
Yeah, I mean, like, I do want to try to break this down.
Just pass.
No, what it comes down to is it's really just a lack of confidence. I mean, if we're all going to be honest as men, it comes down to a lack of confidence, and the way to build the insecurity part is to build your confidence. The more confidence you have, the less insecurities you have. So, with that being said, I mean, you could first start off as finding your routine, figuring out what your purpose is, go to the gym and be around more people. Be, as much as you might be introverted, try to be a little bit more extroverted. I mean, and this goes for anybody because it was a very generalized question. That's all I could really say is that, with the level of insecurity, it comes with the level of lack of confidence. So build the confidence naturally and you'll start to lack that insecurity that invades the confidence space.
Interesting.
Okay. All right. Thank you, J Prime. I'll pass it to you, Chelsea.
No, I want to hear what Professor has
What are your thoughts, Chelsea? Okay. I'll pass it to
I'll take it from here.
And also, fellas, it's okay to pass, fellas. It's okay to pass, fellas. Just want to let you know.
The reason why most men are insecure or have insecurities is because they lack competence, not confidence.
True.
They lack competence, being good at something. So if we say, the reason why a man is insecure approaching a woman is because he feels incompetent in approaching that woman. He does not have the level of competence that he knows he requires in order to approach a woman. Right? How do you build competence? Find out what things are needed, what skills are needed in order for you to stand and be competent, whatever that is. Confidence is built on that. The most confident person typically has an area of skill set that he's just the number one man at it. No one can ever challenge that man in. So if you want to build confidence, that's where you start. What are the skill sets that you think you need to get to a place that you're trying to get to? If it's to get women, if it's to get a job, whatever that looks like, build that up. Right? Be competent in the thing that you're insecure in. If you're insecure about your body, get Xiaoxi's detail and go and see one of his program. If you're incompetent, if you're insecure about your future as a man, go and talk to Xiaoxi or Will or any of us. If it's about a career, figure out where the skill sets that you can attain and do those things. Most men are insecure because they are not without skills in whatever particular area it is. That's where you start. And confidence will come to you naturally. Why do you think I have a God complex? Right?
It's
look at the men in this panel. We're able to share confidently because we've learned.
Yeah. So here's the way that I see it, right? It's insecurity comes from your it's your past experience. It's the things that you're confronted with. Let's just use an example, right? Let's just say it's my wife Ida. Like in the moment that if I see Ida with some other man, the next thing that I do is what? I'm confronted. Truly, I'm confronted, right? And everyone will have to ask, why am I confronted? If I had the confidence, why am I confronted? There's something that's happened in my past that I cannot let go, and I'm unwilling to let go. It has me be confronted. And this is just a small little for you guys to see. Let's just say if you were picked last, if you're picked last when you're a child and you're picked last for the team, what decision what did you tell yourself? That's the question, guys. What would you tell yourself at that moment? If you were picked last, what would you tell yourself? Maybe
I deserve to be picked last.
Say it again.
But I don't. I deserve to be picked last, but I don't want to be picked last anymore. So I need to figure out how not to be picked last.
Could be, right? But you want to take a look. Most kids go, I'm not going to ever play that again. I'm never going to show up again. And that's part of what shows up down the line in life. That my insecurity is like, I don't want to put myself out there because I might get picked last again. So it's a lot deeper than what we have it that, most what we do as men is like we tell people how to do it, but it's a lot deeper. Insecurity is everything is your traumas that you've gone through in life that shows up in this present moment. That's what insecurity is. It's all the BS that you haven't dealt with in your past relationship. It's all the BS that you haven't gotten over. You haven't let go. You haven't really worked up here to be okay with who you are and be okay where women are at. That you can see another person and go, that's okay. It's okay for somebody to be that way because I'm okay with where I'm at because I worked on my past and I'm okay with how things turn out. Could be. I'm just saying, take another look. It's not as complex. It's not as simple as we say it. You take a look at every man. We'll all have our insecurities about things. But you wanna be truthful about what you're talking about. Like, what are you insecure about? I'm insecure about a lot of things. I'm insecure about my weight. And when somebody that's bigger that walks up, that's 6'4", walks up to me and my family, I'm insecure. Yet at the same time, I'm powerful inside, but it's happening inside of my mind that I'm insecure about, and I will not say so. Bring your life into the conversation so that we can all see a little bit of who we are. Like the thing is, what are you insecure about? J Prime, what are you insecure about yourself?
I don't really know.
Yeah. Like
I mean, there's,
Rapid fire, guys.
I,
Rapid fire.
yeah,
most
no.
men are unwilling to say what they're insecure about.
I think there's also a distinguish between being insecure and then also being vulnerable, like understanding the definition
One in
of
the same.
Huh?
One in the same.
You think they're one in the
I'm
same?
being vulnerable when I tell you what I just gone through.
That's an interesting way to look at it.
Okay. What are you insecure about?
I wouldn't qualify my vulnerabilities with an insecurity. An insecurity is a choice based off of an instance of a situation. That's the way that I see it. And I have the choice to make that choice or not. Whereas a vulnerability is an absence of something or a sum of something based off of pretext. And so that's what I'm trying to get at.
What are you insecure about? Don't screw around. Just answer the question. What are you insecure about?
I don't know what I would be insecure of.
Got it.
I'll tell you what insecurity means to me when a lot of men deploy it. Insecurity is when men are rejected at some point and they can't differentiate being scared and fear. Fear is what keeps insecurity around. Being scared tells you, shit, that's hard. And I want to share this, and it sounds, I don't know, people say I'm robotic. I'm not insecure about anything. I think that time for me and that season for me is over. Because I've differentiated fear and scared. There are times I'm scared. Certain things come to my life and I'm scared. But I'm never fearful. I have destroyed that part of me where things come to me and I fear it. I fear nothing, no more. I am scared of certain things. So therefore, insecurity is never real to me. If I get rejected in whatever that looks like, I don't know. My first responder is, why did I get rejected in the first place, and how can I go and take over? That's how I see it. How do I take over from now? Right, and I think what you're saying, Charles, is very important too, because it's a different type of perception that people will have, and that's a reality. People have that perception of, what am I insecure about, and all these things. Because it is real, and sometimes of it comes from traumatic experience. And most of those experiences are based on rejection. People getting rejected from a particular pursuit that they have, whether it's from a girl, whether it's from your boss have shouted at you, or your coach have told you you're a useless prick and you'll never make anything out of you. But I think my recipe for that was determining, am I fearful or am I scared? I can deal with scared. I can't deal with fear. So I need to get rid of fear. I managed to do it in some way or form.
You know, I once again, what I hear is that you're just Superman in the way that you are, in the way you can construct everything about who you are. There is no flaw in who you get to be in the way that we have a conversation here, right? Like, you are perfect and whole and complete in every aspect of your life, is what I'm hearing, right? But we want to be real. Like, real when we get off this, we're real when the camera is turned off. So that people that are actually listening truly get value out of this conversation. Because right now, we're just all a bunch of Supermans.
I think the value is that men can articulate themselves in ways where they do come across as that, right? I mean, they can speak in ways where it does sound that they're Superman. And I would rather men speak in that way, because the reality is that other men will seek out fear. The safety net of our podcast is that we're here to have a conversation. Vast majority of men that go out into life don't get that level of grace from other men, right? Other men will destroy you if they can smell weakness in you. Other men will forbid you from moving in the ladder of corporate or success in career, right? And I'm not claiming I'm Superman. I've just experienced things and taken things out of life that has made me the way that I am. Not perfect, but that is the goal. And appreciate it. I appreciate this conversation. But at the same time, these are the lessons I've learned. And what I've learned is I can't deal with fear. Fear cripples and it destroys. So I'd rather destroy fear and think of it as scared. I am scared, but I can move past that. I can be scared and talk to the man that seems intimidating.
Yeah.
I can be scared of Siashi and still have this conversation with you. But if I fear you, I will never have that conversation.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Will.
All right, thank you, Balafessa. Let me pass it to. All good, talk good. Let me pass it to Z007. What's your thoughts on it? We were talking about any advice with insecurity. Let's go rapid fire. I still have a couple more questions. I do want to go over so make sure we can get all the questions covered for tonight's podcast. But Z007, what's your thoughts on insecurity? Go ahead.
So she was asking in regards to insecurity about men, correct? Yeah, I would say it has to go with it would have to go with Paulo Fessa said in the sense of competency. When there's something about when you're incompetent in an area, there's a lack of confidence. Because due to you're not competent in that area, and as a man, being with our mentality, we're problem solvers, and so when we're in a situation we're like, damn, I don't know how to solve this, or I'm uncertain, and now anxiety kicks in that area. You're like, shit, it starts to creep up on you. So I mean, it just goes back to what like Paulo Fessa said. You gotta, if you know this is your weaknesses and this is your strength, and you're exposed in this weakness, it's time to like focus in on it and see how you can improve yourself in your self-development. But I also agree at the same time with Siaosi in a sense. I like the sense that he's very open to be like, yeah, I have insecurities. When I see a taller guy than me, he's bigger and he has more muscles, I'm like, oh shit, like I feel intimidated. Very open in the sense. I think the cool thing about it is we can have this dialogue as men. But I also agree with Paulo Fessa in a sense that God complex, where you don't show that weakness when you're with your lady. I know inside I'm like, damn, that's a big dude. But in the back of your mind, you got to have that mentality. I'll still knock him out, though. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'll pull out my Glock and show him how to get down, But because the man, we can't afford to show weakness in that sense because we are the frame. We are the foundation of the home, so we gotta maintain that masculine frame, even if we bluffing, Well, I mean, I won't go tell my lady, hey, damn, dog, I was intimidated by that guy. I'm not gonna go tell her that. I go tell my boys, damn, dude, I saw this dude. Shit, he made me feel like this. You know what I'm saying? So it's just you gotta be more men. There's nothing wrong with how would I say, knowing that you have those weaknesses. There's a lack of confidence in a certain area. It's okay. That's part of being human. We're not superheroes here. But yeah, but this dialogue right here with men, I think it's very important in the sense where you can be like, hey, vulnerable, if you want to call it. We can be like, shit, like I was intimidated. But yeah, that's all it is.
All right, no worries. Thank you, Z007. Let me pass it to you, T. I think T is walking right now. Okay. T, are you good to speak?
No, it's fine.
Okay. Yeah, what's your thoughts, real good, rapid fire on insecurity? Go ahead.
I think it depends. Insecurity comes from a lot of mistrust that you have, or I think there was a episode that we did one time where we were talking about how can men get familiar with women, and it's just not being weird. Part of it has to do with you taking your L's gracefully, adjusting to people, and one of those adjustments is for you to be able to trust partner. If you guys have that, if you guys have that trust, you guys will be able to overcome a lot of stuff, especially when it comes to insecurities. Because if you're not as familiar with your partner as you're supposed to be, everything's gonna come back like tenfold. How small your dick is, you're fat, you're short, and you can't be short and fat at the same time. It's unfortunate for you. I think it just comes down to a key part of it is communication. But if you guys don't trust each other to the point where you or your woman is okay with what they see in front of them, then The insecurities are obviously going to show. But if you guys have tried everything within your power to make sure you guys have the trust, and you as a man still have such insecurities, my rapid fire is you need to go sign up for a UFC gym so they can punch you the fuck in the face. And to see if your lady is still going to stand there with you. If she does, that means she trusts you, that you can learn your lesson and you can get up and lick your wounds and work on your relationship again. There's a lot of things to be insecure about. Majority of it has to do with, the image of sex. But if you're insecure, you just need to figure it out. You need to grow some sacks and, not make your girl look like the alpha one in the relationship. I think that's what it is. That's all I got.
Can I follow up
All
with
right,
that
no
real
worries.
quick?
We're gonna go rapid fire.
Yeah, real quick.
Go ahead, rapid fire. Go ahead. You want to add on something real quick?
No, I just wanted to add on because, I understand it. It's a woman that's asking this question, correct? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
the woman that's asking this question is like, how can, if it's her man specifically, my thing is like, how is she building her man up? You know what I mean? Because if she's shaming him, manipulating him, insulting him, just negative, pessimistic, then that doesn't help him. That doesn't build him up, especially if she's, I don't want to say, if you want to say alpha female or whatever, but she has to do her part in the sense of building him up. But at the same time, he should be a solid rock where it doesn't matter the way she behaves or whatever. He shouldn't be dependent on her to build him up. But anyways, I think it's an interesting question. It's very vague.
All right, no worries. Thank you for sharing that. Z007. I professor, competence leads to confidence. But I think a quote that really hits home for me talking about insecurities is from Alex Hormozy. He said that because people always ask him, how are you always confident? And sometimes, and I think his response was like, I'm confident sometimes, but there are times that I'm not confident. But in the times where I'm not confident, what I always do is I always trust my body of work. And that's something that relates to me. I try to be, and there's a lot of things I'm confident all the time. I'm pretty confident in myself and things I try to strive. But in the times where I'm not as confident or I don't feel as competent, I always trust the body work that I've done throughout the years. That always gives me the confidence to keep going. And I know, I think for me doing, I don't know if I've shared this on the podcast before, but one of my insecurities is like public speaking. I know I was told by the fest I'm an introvert by nature. I didn't even like talking to people, and of course when I came here to America trying to learn English, a lot of people laughed when I was trying to speak. So that kind of gave me a lot of insecurity issues about speaking, but that also motivated me to learn the language and to practice. And I think sales was one of the best things that I've ever did because it allowed me to go out of my comfort zone and talk to people every single day. So I worked on those skills every single day. So even in this podcast, like there are times where I'm still not confident or I still get butterflies to go online on a public podcast, have open conversations with great men and women like yourself. And there are times I just feel like I'm not as confident when I speak, but I always trust my body of work of all the work I've done in sales, all the things I've learned in sales about speaking, talking to people, my 2 years of doing podcasting. I always trust my body of work. And I think that's something I just want to share for everybody out there. If you are insecure, like Paulo Vesta said, it is probably because you're not putting in the work on the things that you're in confidence in. And it does require a lot of work. And I think for me is one of the things I always remember from my previous mentor, he said, you have a weakness, don't call it a weakness, call it an undeveloped strength. It's just something that hasn't been developed. Until you put in the work to grow it too, then that undeveloped strength, aka weakness, can become something that you're very good at. Now, I probably will never be able to speak as good as Paulo Vesta, but I know that if I work on it and I improve on it every single day and I put in the work every single day, I do podcasts every single week, 3 times a week, every single week. and it definitely helps and makes a big difference. And if you guys ever watch this, if you go watch me my first video I ever posted, I was shit. I was terrible. I could barely remember. I wasn't doing really well. But I've come really far. I've come really far these last 2 years. It has nothing to do with talent. It has nothing to do with potential. It's just the body of work of consistency I've put into this podcast and speaking to probably over 1,000 people in this last 2 years. And that's all it is. It's just confidence in yourself and putting work good times where you're not going to be confident because we're all human beings. But if you trust the body of work that you've put in and the work you have done, that always gets me going to keep. Like I said, I may be scared, but I'm not fearful. I'm going to keep going. So even though I sometimes to come on to do a podcast, but that's the work I've done and that keeps me going. But if you have no body of work, if you're lazy as shit, you have no, good luck overcoming any kind of insecurity or things that you feel like they are not good at. But it does require a lot of work. But that's just my I wanted to share that real quick. But I do have the next question. This is a good one. This is a good one, fellas. It's going to be a nice, spicy question. And Paulo Festa, I saw your message. We're gonna take this kind of a little bit overtime for this episode. So this is coming from a lady. She asked me this on Instagram. She said, "Hey, I love the podcast. At first, I hated it because I watched the clip where you talked about how men don't want to be with women with a high body count or have gone through a whole phase. Okay, it hurt because I did go through a whole phase. Even though today I regret it, it was just hard to hear the honest truth for the first time, and especially coming from a man. I grew up in a religious family. I went through a whole phase because I wanted to rebel, but I ended up being in multiple toxic, bad relationships that have kind of traumatized me. So I've gone through my healing phase. I finally found a good religious man who doesn't know that I've gone through a whole phase. I do know that some of his cousins know some of the men that I went through a whole phase in the past. So her question is, should I tell him that I went through a whole phase, or just keep it a secret and just let him think that I'm that, that she's just that religious girl? What should I do? What's on that, fellas? Should she tell her religious partner to her whole phase, or he just let him just find out, potentially find out from his friends that she went through her whole phase because they are both religious. I'll start with you, Z007. What do you think, Z007? Rapid fire. What's your thoughts on that question?
All right. So facts. She's religious. Has a religious upbringing. She has a prior history of a high body count, promiscuous lifestyle, and she found Jesus and found a religious man. So her question is, should I tell him? I say yes. No. I say no unless he asks.
Yeah, should I tell him up front or him finding out later?
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna find out later when they're getting freaky deek and she's really experienced. He's be like, damn, you know what you're doing down there. You got a lot of experience. But I would say don't tell him unless he asks you. Because man, again, like once we visualize things, so we're gonna think the worst. So if he finds out you let this guy smash this guy, he knows all of them, it's gonna mess with his thought process. But if he does ask you, I say be completely honest. Don't hold back, but be completely honest with him, and then let him decide if he wants to, proceed with you or walk away. But I wouldn't put on a front like that you're, this pure angel now that you found Jesus. But honesty goes a long way. Let him be the decider if he wants to stay or if he wants to walk away. But just be honest if he asks you. But if he doesn't, just let it go. We all have history. And who knows? He might not be that goody good too. You know what I mean? He probably has a freaky deaky past too. So I say that's what I think. All
right, no worries. All right, thank you, Z007. Thank you for sharing. Let me pass it to J Prime, man. Well, what do you think? What's your on this? Well, what should she do? Tell him, or let it be?
I'll just echo what 007 said. Don't tell him. If he confronts you about it, then yeah, talk to him about it. Another key thing that you want to take into consideration is don't lie. Don't be lying to him to cover what you've previously have done. You know, it's different between not telling him and lying to him straight up. Because if you're lying to him right now about what has happened and then you tell him, or then he finds out, then he's going to be a lot more upset than you could imagine. And but other than that, I mean, it comes down to the guy.
She also mentioned that some of his friends know like the men in the past. Do you think you should let him find out from his friends, or should just be upfront?
I feel like this is kind of like a double-edged sword kind of deal. It all depends on where your man's at.
Okay.
In my instance, my wife and I, we both went through our whole phase. I don't give a fuck about like body count or any of that shit. Like I really don't care. It's not a distaste. It's not a deal breaker for me. For most men, it can be. And I am very well aware of that. Me living in Utah, having a high body count as a man is a distaste for a lot of women here. And so you got to take into consideration, you know, where is your man at, what kind of man he is. And, you know, if he brings it up, be honest with him. But definitely don't be lying to him about it. And don't be stretching the truth and try to sugarcoat it. You know, because women are really good at doing that. I'm not saying that men aren't good at doing that, but it goes both ways. You know, if he approaches you and then he questions you about it, be honest, don't lie. And if you're lying to him now, try your hardest to make amends with that lie. Because it's once it crosses the boundaries of being a lie, that's when it becomes a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
No worries.
All right, no worries. Let me pass it to Palofessa. Palofessa, what are your thoughts on it? Or just keep it to yourself?
Funny thing about secrecy is it doesn't stay secret. It really doesn't. And I've just heard things that go against a lot of things I believe in, to the degree that as a man I would hope that my wife would come to me and speak to me about the honest truth about things, including if it destroys her that she needs to share it. I would rather her come to me than finding out from another man. Now, in the state of a body count, you understand the consequences of that, but you still need to have that conversation with him, because it will bury you before it buries him. This is the thing that a lot of men don't understand about women. They cannot hold secrets. It will fucking destroy them, and it will eat them alive with the potential of what might happen. Sit him down and go, this relationship is far too important for me to fucking break it up. But I do have to tell you something that is eating me up inside. And if you decide to walk away, then I understand. But I need you to know in order for me to be the woman that you need me to be. And that is a woman that is open and honest with him, and that can give him loyalty to the utmost. Right? Be a grown adult and have these conversations. It's the fear of the consequences that keep most people from doing things that absolutely destroy them in the process. Be a woman, go and sit his ass down and say, look, I love you and I respect you as a man. And I respect the direction that you lead. But I have some things that are going to destroy me in the process, and I can't fully be the woman that you need me to be. And if this means you get to walk away, then I understand. Have conversations. You're both full-grown adults. And accept the consequences of what those conversations are. This is what I view relationships as. As your wife, as your husband, you should have the utmost respect and love for each other, that you will tell each other whatever it is that is required to be shared. You move as a team. And if you don't move as a team, it'll destroy both of you. Be an adult. Seriously.
There you go. All right, no worries. Especially if he watches this podcast, you better sit him down and talk to him. I'll pass it to you, Xiaoxi. Xiaoxi, what's your thoughts on this? Should she tell him, or should she keep it a secret?
Yeah, it's a matter of her freedom. If it bothers her enough and she can say what she needs to say so that she's free in her mind, then why not? Like it's all about her freedom. And if she's willing to risk what she's about to say to have it to her to be free, then beautiful. Right? Because if he's unwilling to be with who she used to be, then it doesn't matter. What matters is that she gets to say what she needs to say so that she's free from here on. And that he can deal with that after. She has to ask herself, am I willing to do that and take on the next conversation, the next year or next 2 year of conversation to bring everything back? And we don't know. It may be that the guy may take it on as like, I got it, and move on. But there's going to be a payoff and a cost for that conversation. And she's got to be present to both. The cost of it and the payoff. And the payoff could be, hey, I'm free now. And the cost of that is the relationship now has to be rebuilt. So think about it. And think about it for yourself. In other words, really sit there and make the choice yours. Don't have what we say as your choice. Don't make us choose for you. And the moment that you get to choose for yourself, I'm doing this because I want to, and I'm willing to do that for myself, to free myself, then you are free to act. But if you have it that Professor is saying, and what I'm saying, and what T is going to say, and what Joe is about to say, I'm going to take that advice. That means you'll never take full responsibility for yourself, that you're going to blame it on one of our conversations. So take on the conversation. It is yours. Take it on 100%. Take control of who you are and take control of your thoughts and make it happen. I love you.
Okay. All right, Xiaoxi, thank you for sharing. Pass it to T. Pass it to TT. What's your thoughts on it? Should she be upfront or keep it a secret?
I'm sorry, I didn't get what the question was about. Be upfront with what?
It's a woman that went through a whole phase, and she just found a good man. He's religious, and she's afraid that he might find out that she went through a whole phase. So she's contemplating whether to be upfront with it or him finding out later, and he potentially might walk away.
I mean, well, first of all, sorry for the technical difficulties. We went through a mid-evacuation, mid-podcast. But everything's good now. I think she should be upfront. Honest to goodness, I think she should be. Because if she is keeping all of this, and let's just say hypothetically the guy is still insecure about some aspect of his life, whatever the case may be in their relationship, can you imagine how much that's going to amplify his insecurities that already exist? Oh, boom, body count. What the fuck, bitch? You never told me this. And he's already insecure about a lot of stuff. It's just going to unload on him. I be upfront, but I think for women, it all depends on the communication that you guys have, the connection that you guys have. Deep connection, like Paulo Fissa talks about, right? Every inch of the body. And if you guys are comfortable enough of discussing your past, then you should absolutely tell him. And to the guy, if the guy is stable enough, where he's not too warped in the head, in the sense of he's mature enough to move past the past, because he has a vision of what he's trying to build. He is going to think about it and contemplate about how to digest the information, but I don't think he's going to partner on it so much that it's going to affect everything that's going on in his life already, to where it's going to put his life to like complete halt. I think for men, when it comes to maturity, this is part of life too. And if you really know how to take your L's gracefully, this is the information that she brings up to you. Hey, maybe you're one of the rare ones that have found value within somebody who went through a hoe phase. Can't turn a hoe into a housewife, but you know, it all depends on the circumstances and how mature you guys are in your relationship. But you should absolutely tell them though. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Let me some questions real quick, and then I'll go. There's another question on the live chat. Marlena Davidson on the live chat. If he asks her questions about it, then she should talk to him about it. But if he doesn't ask questions about it, then she should let it be the past chapter of her own lifestyle. All right, no worries. Thank you, Sharpen. I see the Dark Knight. Hey, good to see you, Dark Knight, on the live chat. The Dark Knight live chat. He said that if he had game, he wouldn't need to ask. He would already know. Oh, shoot. Okay. All right, Dark Knight. Always good to see you, your Red Pill on the live chat. I see Justin Wilson on the live chat. Good to see. I think it's the first time I've seen Justin Wilson. Shout out to you, man. I think first time on the live chat. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It will definitely cause arguments if he finds out by himself. I think he should just be upfront. That's just my opinion. And MZ Carol, like always, I appreciate you in the live chat. She said communication and beyond. Why live with that on your mind? It would be worse if he finds out through others instead of yourself. Yeah, you don't know what type of friends that he has. Maybe especially if his friend. Nevertheless, from Marlena Davidson, we'll keep it going rapid fire, guys. He's asking about specific Islander men. Let me go on. She said, why do a lot on their potential education and wait until shit hits the fan, like when the girlfriend, wifey wants to leave them? All right, Marlena Davidson question. And Marlena Davidson, always appreciate you on the live chat. Thank you for asking. This is a Q&A. If you're tuning in right now for the first time, if you're watching right now, it's a Q&A. If you have any questions that you guys want us to discuss, put it on the live chat, and we'll get a chance to respond to it tonight. Don't hold back. Nothing is off limits. Ask away. Since we got all of us are Pacific Islanders, I'll start with you. What's your thoughts on this question, Chelsea? Why do a lot of potential education and wait until the woman wants to leave till shit hits the fan, then they start moving and do something about it? Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute, Chelsea.
Yeah, it's simply it's being comfortable. You can only like if you see it, if somebody's comfortable, they don't need to do anything else other than hang out and do the very minimum that they need to do to live life. It's just a lack of wanting and the lack of will to do something completely different, right? In other words, if the woman is allowing the man to just to kind of hang out and do what they do until something else happens, then the man's going to do what they need to do. And we're not all Supermans like Professor and J Prime, and we're not all Supermans, right? We have to take a look at men in general. Sometimes some men are just unwilling to get up every morning and do what they need to do, and some men are willing to kind of hang out and do very, very little. The reason is because you're letting him. Some men need to be told early in life, hey, you gotta get your ass up and start doing something for all of us instead of sitting and participating in what he's doing. So women, step it up. You gotta do your part too. When your man is unwilling to get up early and go do something for you, you have to call them in their shit. Really. Like, get your education, go do something. If you don't get your education, go and start the business, go do something that would bring value, more value to who you are. But women is going to have to start doing that if your man is like that. So go forward. Don't just multiply.
All right. All right. Call him on this shit. All right. Thank you, Chelsea. Let me put Superman. Balafessa. Go ahead. Balafessa, what's your thoughts about Balafessa? Why do a lot of poly guys sit on their ass until she hits the fan and all of a sudden they want go to work?
Because we're too good at protecting our children, to the point that oftentimes we protect them to the extreme where we don't allow them to go out into life and to stand on their own 2 feet and figure out how to protect themselves. We look into our communities, that's what we do. A vast majority of our children live with us for a long time. And in our love and in our protection, we want them to stay with us for however long that is. I'm not saying there's faults in it, but for a man, it's vitally important that you figure out who you are and where you stand in the world. Not just for the sake of your parents, but for the sake of yourself and the family that you want to bring into this world. We're not very good at transitioning men into the real world when we leave the homeland, because none of the practices look familiar. A lot of our transitioning was alo, pangota, go out and hunt, bring food, all of that sort of type of thing. But we can't seem to replicate that sort of lifestyle here in all these different places. So you find a lot of poly guys who still look to their mothers and their fathers for decision-making choices that they need to do. And when they're left without it, they blame their parents for it. Oh, my mother and my father didn't do this. Right. I see it very often, and I see it in construction. That's how I see it. Overprotectiveness. We protect to the extreme where oftentimes we will demonize our own children for going out into the world and trying things out. There's a fine balance in allowing young men to figure the world for their own, and to also discipline them in the way where they don't over-exceed boundaries where they're going to end up in bad places. But yeah, I think that's how I see it.
Okay. All right, Balafessa, thank you for sharing. I'll pass it to you, J Prime. J Prime, what do you think about her question, Marlena Davidson? Go ahead, J Prime.
So I didn't have anybody who wanted to leave me, but I definitely made a shift when shit hit the fan. And speaking from experience, sometimes shit needs to hit the fan in order to make a conscious decision that you never would have made before shit hitting the fan. In that context, a lot of men end up getting thrown into a fight or flight mode. And it's that fight or flight mode that really shifts the reality of which we portray, whether it's being too comfortable at home, getting too comfortable with the income that you're currently making, not being ambitious, seeking education, or applying yourself to becoming an entrepreneur, whichever one it may be. With that being said, it really comes down to the person. And also, Balafessa and Siasi made a good point. Balafessa brought up the fact that, what we need to take into consideration is that not all Polynesians are dwelling within civilized nations. When I say that, I mean that the tools necessary to do so, further your education, further that skill set, or become ambition are not there. They're not readily available. This is something that I can personally speak of coming from Hawaii. Doing what I do now, I could never do in the state of Hawaii previously. Today you can do it, but when I was growing up, you couldn't do what I do now. And we need to take that in consideration, is that we're making a shift as people, as Pacific Islanders, as PIs, making a shift from, the old hunter and gathering system, or the old, farming system, or the old industrial system. And then we're entering into the stage of technology where everything is readily available. One of the gripes, one of the nitpicks that I have with my wife is wasting food. She grew up here in America, and I grew up out in the islands, where wasting food was a constructive. If you've wasted food, you can get your ass whooped. From where I'm from. You get your ass whooped for wasting food. But here in America, everything is just here. So, they don't consider it wasting food. It's just going to go bad for them. They don't, leftovers wasn't really a thing for my wife. Leftovers was everything for me. And so we need to take into realization that we're making a shift, and it's a due process shift. And that shift alone is going to take time. You know, not every Polynesian guy is trying to be ambitious. Not every Polynesian guy is trying to, you know, forego the undertow of becoming an entrepreneur like Siausi, or forego the skill set necessary to become of management like Paulo Fessa, or lead the way of towards ambition like somebody like myself, you know, trying to reach that $1 billion mark. It is a quest of conquest that I don't wish my children perceive. You know, I don't, if they want to go down that route, I think that it is my duty to make sure that they have the tools necessary. You know, Paulo Fessa says this all the time, refining the tools that I have so that way one day my son can be better than me. It's the same concept over and over and over again. And not every household has that. You know, if you're trying to figure out and compare why your man's not being this when another man's being that, maybe it's because of the fact that the upbringing that he was brought up in was very, very limited, considering the tools and factors that were readily available next to them. So that's where I'll leave it at. Is just, you need to take into consideration all the factors, not just one factor. So if he's being a lazy piece of shit, I mean, he's being a lazy piece of shit. That's the only way to say it.
All right, J Prime. All right, thank you for sharing that. Pass it to you, Z007. What's your thoughts on it? Poly guys not fulfilling their potential until the shit hits the fan.
I would say a lot of that has to do with, I wouldn't say it just starts in adulthood. I would say it goes back to childhood upbringing. In the Polynesian culture, we have this big interdependency and within one another. You know what I mean? Like if we know we go out there and we mess up, we have that safety net at home. You know, whether it be with your grandparents, your aunties, your uncles, we always have that safety net. And I feel like sometimes it could do the opposite, where it leads to comfort, where it leads to complacency, where you don't have to, you know that safety net is always going to be comfortable. You can always fall back on. Where if you take American culture, it's like, you fuck up 18, you out the house. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you're gone. You got to go figure it out. I mean, American culture is like figure out even a little bit younger. Like, you know, you got to go start figuring out. At 18, you're gone. Where in the Polynesian culture, it's totally opposite. There's always going to be that safety net. Even if you hit your 20s, 30s, 40s, there's always going to be a safety net. And I think that's dangerous. And so for that, you know, when shit hits the fan, then it's crazy. You realize as Polynesians, we can get things moving. Once we feel the pressure, like, shoot, we will conquer a lot of things once we feel the heat. You know, when scarcity hits, when crap hits the fan, and we got to get it going, we will make mountains move. So it's like, it's crazy how, imagine our potential if we utilize that energy and that effort early into something, you know, with ambition, purpose, and desire. I think we can accomplish a lot. But for that lady, yeah, it sucks. Yeah, it sucks that crap has to hit the fan for him to get moving. You know, that's when I think that her man or whoever it is, that's when he should have good friends, guy friends, like Xiaoxi, who can cuss him out, you know, or like Paulo Fessa to drop some knowledge, or like Will to, you know, give him a lecture on how to be more masculine, or Prime to give him some, you know, prime time information on technology. You know what I'm saying? But I think that's when you need a good group of guys to hold you accountable. But yeah, I think that's where it stems from. It's not just adulthood; it happened in childhood, and those are his habits nowadays. So it sucks.
Okay. All right, thank you, Z. I'll pass it to T. T, what's your thoughts on her response on she coming for all the poly men out there, man? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely, come for them. But I think it's both. I'm gonna step back a little bit from, I think Paulo Fissa said, it's a little bit different from what Paulo Fissa said. I absolutely blame both. To what Z007 said about Polynesian families this sense of togetherness. Always being in, the inclusivity that we always have to. I think in the Hawaiian language they call it kapu. For us Samoans we call it tapu. It's like your safety net, right? Your aunties, your uncles, your relatives, everything. The first one is the kids. Now, although parents try to do the best they can to raise kids nowadays, all my days, they're fucking smart. They will milk you for everything. They absolutely know how to milk you for you to spoil them and treat them like babies, cradle them, and they absolutely know how to milk the system. And until shit hits the fan, then they go cry to their mom and say, "Oh, I don't know what happened." It's because all they done in their life, right? And there's some fault to the parents too, because they were allowed to milk other people and take advantage of other people being too kind-hearted for them to keep getting away with this. Some parents, there's this thing that I see in the Samoa family, saying that there's no love like your mom. That's great. For all you Samoans, that's fine. Your son is still going to grow up dumb as fuck. Yeah, you heard what I said. Because you're going to spoil his ass. He's not going to have no skills, no principles and morals on how to get his ass up and go do something, get his hands dirty. And now he's just going to he's getting used to you just giving the hand-me-downs and the hand-me-outs and the handouts and all of the hands that come with that. Right? And they get so comfortable to the point, unless shit happens, so when she walks away, "Mom, help me out." I say it's both, because it takes two of those two. The moms have to understand that at some point, your kids got to go figure out what they need to do. Right? They're not going to, come fafangu you from your grave and come, "Can you help me out, Mom? Please?" It's not going to happen. The same thing goes for the moms. But sometimes you just want to be alone. You don't want nobody to bother you. And as much as you want to say, "Oh, no, that's my son," get real, people. This is America. You know how many times I throw my kids off to my mom and nothing to do with me? Absolutely nothing to do with me. But I think the guys, our generation, at least for the guys, stop milking the system as much as you can. And by system, I mean your families. Stop taking advantage of those. And especially your girls. If they're putting out all this work, because we tend to shit on the girls all the time. If they're putting out all this work to show you that they want to trust you, and you sitting on your ass, if I was your mom, I would tell all your secrets. That's what I would do.
I think it's interesting what 007 was talking about, because you're talking about culture. It's a culture of being that we're left that way, right? It's just a culture that we're brought up in. That we're so dependent on each other in our circle of family, that we're so dependent on each other that it's like, my dad's got my back, my sister's got my back, everybody's got my back, until something truly happens. So I think there's a great way of looking at it, is that you have to go back and look how he was raised. And in that culture, in the way that he's raised, it could be the answer. Right? He talked about. Right on top. We have to get people to start moving instead of keep feeding it with a silver spoon.
Some of the side effects to that is, let's say Will's my son. Will could be in the absolute wrong, and I'm still gonna sit here. It's like, no, my son is right. Right now, Will's gonna grow up with that mentality of oh, fuck everybody, I'm right. My mom said so. Right. So people think that it doesn't mess with them, but this is America. It hits different.
Oh, I get that. That is what we talked about last time. That's unconditional love. No matter how dumb you are, I'm gonna love you, my son and my daughter, regardless of what they're in life. They go kill somebody, I love you unconditionally.
Can I add to this real quick? Well, if I'm Marlene, what can I do right now if I'm in this situation? If I was you, what can I do today or tonight or tomorrow? What I would do if I was you, I would don't try to belittle him. Oh, she's Palangi? Oh, sorry. Whatever it is. Don't try to belittle him.
No, I said Mary Palangi.
Oh, Mary Palangi? Oh, shoot. regardless what ethnic background you are, I would try to build him up, 1, 2, and see if his close friends, his inner circle could talk to him. Because a lot of times I'd rather hear it from my boys than hear it from my lady. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then your boys are the ones that usually hold you accountable, you know, and you can kind of take it better from the boys. But when your girl's like trying to nag on you, it gets annoying. Like, I don't want to hear it. But I'll definitely communicate with his boys and see if they can reach out to him.
That I would call you in your shit. I would like, hell no. And this is what I think when men screw up is when they have it that they can't talk to their wives and really have a real conversation. Because the moment you can have a real conversation here and you can get what's there, that you don't have to run around and pretend. Men, stop running around and pretending that your friends and your families are going to tell you the best thing for you. The best thing for you is have straight communication with the one that you love so you can both figure out what the hell you need to do. But we have a tendency as a culture, as men, that, whoa, let me go talk to my friends. You think they're going to really tell you the truth? No, they're going to tell you what you want to hear. Your girl is going to tell you what you need to hear.
Depends on your circle. It depends on your circle.
No.
If you have a solid group of men.
I truly get that the moment that you have it, that you can't talk to the one that you love, to have something, that communication that we talk about. The moment you have it, that you can no longer talk here, that you have to go talk to somebody else to find your solution. Instead of finding a solution within yourselves, you have a problem. And your problem is you're unwilling to have communication. And you want to take a look at what the hell is it that I don't want to have a conversation with my wife? Do I hear nagging? Do I hear the communication as nagging? Or do I hear communication? You need to do something. So it's the way that you listen to what's being brought forth. If you hear nagging, you're going to hear nagging. When somebody is bringing forth what is there for them and you see as nagging, guess what? It's nagging. If you're doing the shit that you're supposed to do, like to show up powerfully, it's, you know, anything else is, there's no nagging because you're doing your shit. But once again, you go back to the moment you're unwilling to have straight conversation with the people that you love, and that you have to go around on the side, and there's something I consider there's something wrong with you and the way you communicate.
This is what I agree with Yasi. And
No,
I agree with Yasi.
I think she just responded. Marlena, she said, I'm native Hawaiian. I live in Hawaii. I left his dumb ass. All right.
Yeah. Like if you find yourself in that predicament, you have to sit down with that man and say, look, I love you and I'll forever love you, but you are moving in ways where I will lose respect for you. Respect is always a little bit harsher for men to hear.
Yeah.
And then continue with, look, whatever we have to do as a unit, I will support you wholeheartedly. But we are going in a direction where I'm going to have to walk away at some stage. Have those conversations. Look, we're so fearful of talking to the people that we love that we will try and figure out ways of not doing it and finding information from other people. You know how that works out.
Okay.
Right? Is that people are left in places where they don't want to be and they can't communicate.
And we can never figure out what's going on the other side because we're running around having conversations here with nobody that knows what's really going on in your loved one's mind. You're trying to figure out in the other domains of what's really going on over there. When what's going on over there is right in front of you. The answer is right in front of you, not beside you, not behind you, nowhere else but right in front of you. That's what the answer is.
True, but it's just like the dialogue we have right now. It's just information. When you have two people who are intimate partners and there's a lot of emotions involved, sometimes it's good to get advice. It's just advice from someone who's detached from both of you guys. And if you have a good circle of friends, guys who hold you accountable, they can literally call you on your shit. Hey, bro, you're slacking. You need to get off your ass and grind. You know what I mean? Like, no, she's right. You know what I mean? And it's just information. That's all it is. Then it's up to you to decide if you want to or not.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Everybody thinks it's bad information. It's up to you to decide. Sorry, go ahead.
Just a quick add-on to that. I had this conversation with Z after the podcast. For any man, if you find yourself in that predicament, a good way of communicating with your wife is saying this. If you want to use it. But if you don't, up to you. Sit down with your wife or your girlfriend and say, look, sometimes as a man, I see things very differently from you. If you see a problem I don't recognize, please come and talk to me and show me why it is a problem to you and how I can fix it. A lot of conversation that we as men have with our women is typically from the ways that we see life. Women see it very differently. And if we're in a relationship, I would hope that we follow suit in what Chelsea's saying, is that rather than being dependent, and I get the group of men, that's great. But oftentimes men are lonely. They are alone in their relationship for whatever circumstances they are. If you want to identify problems, have that conversation with your wife or your girlfriend. Sometimes I do not see problems that you see. Please come and see me and tell me this is a problem. Your boxes on the ground every Tuesday when you come home from work is a problem for me.
Yeah.
Can we do something about it?
I think that's
Have a
pretty powerful
conversation.
what you said, right? Like in the way that you get to communicate. I think that's powerful what Professor just said. If there is a problem, it's the way that you approach it. Hey, I see something that's wrong that we might have to take a look at. Go back, it's the way that you present what's missing or what's going on is the way that you present it that can have it land not as a problem, but as I'm requesting you to take a look at what's going on in this area so that way we can move forward, right? And like I said, if you're confronted at the moment that you're confronted, if you're confronted about what your significant one is saying, then you're at fault because you're confronted, right? And if you're fighting, you're not fighting with her, you're fighting with yourself. You're fighting with yourself because you can't figure out what the hell is going on with you in your mind. And the moment you bring something in you're done. So consider that we are the one that creates our own problem in our head by being confronted about something that our loved one brings forth for us. And the moment we can give that up, you can be with people's communication. You can be in love with the person right in front of you. And that's what we need to go to work as men is why am I so confronted about when somebody brings something to the table that's unclear for them? We have it that you should shut the hell up and listen to me and only to me. And I talk to you, only talk to me when I'm talking to you. That becomes the problem. We are the problem. Consider that everything that happens in our life it's our problem and we are the solution. As men, we're the problem and we're the solution. And the moment you blame somebody else, we are no longer responsible. I love you guys.
No worries. Thank you for sharing, Chelsea and Z007 and everybody about Professor J Prime. And see, I guess my only I have one more question for the fellas, especially the men on this panel who has this coming from a girl. But before I ask that question, I did from Marlena Davis's questions of why do Pacific Islander men oftentimes fulfill their potential and just wait till when shit hits the fan. I think I agree with all of this. I think sometimes we kind of encourage within our to stay comfortable, and then Z007 brought up we're dependent. I think for me, what I see is I think we haven't really fully adapted as a people to thrive in Western society. I think sometimes we have heard the term the island mindset. Sometimes we still live the same way in the islands here in America. And one of the things I do see is like I know our people like we just can't do enough to survive. But the thing is in Tonga, you could just do enough to survive and you can live, a normal life. But in America, with bills, with taxes, in this capital economy, you can't do bare minimum here. You're gonna struggle. You can't do bare minimum here. You can't just do barely enough here and expect to live a quality of life. And I think one of the things I think our culture is not open to yet, and I think that's why I started this podcast. Like we have to learn to adapt into new things and new methods, new ways. And oftentimes, if we do things, especially if we do things like the white people do, oftentimes that we get labeled, "Oh, why you want to be white? Like you're not a." And I think our people haven't evolved mentally or to the point that adjust to the world that we live in. We don't live in the islands today. We don't live in Tonga no more. We live in Western society. We live in a different place, and that requires a different type of lifestyle, different type of decisions. especially when it comes to finances. So just doing the barely enough. And one of the things I do see, and it irritates me, is I think we need to change in our community. It's like this polytime shit that we always do in the community. People always come in late, and I see this sometimes in our functions and my family members. And I always tell my people, like, why do you come late all the time? Well, it's polytime. You realize when you go to the real world, you can't come late. You have to be punctual. There's deadlines. There's bosses. There's people there's the things that you have to be on time, or you might miss an opportunity. But sometimes, like, just the things that we kind of accept in our culture, those behaviors don't transition into Western society and into the world, because cool, polytime's cool in our culture. So in our culture, when you get a job, when you're a boss, you start a business, when you have customers that are expecting something to be done at a specific time. If you have a podcast and you have to have a show every 3 days and it has done a certain time waiting to watch your show, you have to be punctual. And I think we haven't kind of transitioned and be open to expand from our culture. I'm not saying we change our culture. We still keep our culture, but we gotta be open to expand on it, accept new things that we do here in America, and not kind of label it and kind of demonize it that we're losing. Or you're not. Oh, you want to be Western, you want to be Balang, you're trying to do something different. And I think the doing barely enough and just doing enough is. I think that sometimes I hear that from my parents, like, why you always want to get more? Like, just be grateful. Nah, I don't. Can't be grateful with what I have right now, because that's not enough for me to survive and live a quality of life. And I think we can throw it in religion there, but I think that some of the things that our culture, we kind of do the very same things that we do in the islands, and I think it doesn't transition well in America. And I think we have to be open to expand our culture and adjust to things that are not part of our culture and bring that into our culture. But I think that's going to take our generation. I think the old generation, they're not willing to do that, but I think it's going to take our generation. We're going to introduce new things, new ways of doing things, new mentality, new behaviors, new ways of thinking. And I think it's going to be our generation that's going to do that. I don't think the older generation is ready for that conversation. Anyways.
I think you're wrong in that sense.
Go ahead.
I think you're really wrong in that sense. What I'm hearing is that, like, we're not all walking around the way you have it. You really have it that in this conversation, every tongue is walking around being late all the time. You want to consider that those are professional people that are walking around, that we have advanced. We have advanced.
I say majority.
Could be, but it's not. It's not destined. It's not a fact. But you speak it like it's a fact, and then I want you to consider that, because you're talking about our people. Yeah. There's a culture of that, and that's okay. But the fact that you at this moment of the way you're speaking is a matter of fact, is pointing finger. No, it's just the evolution of people. There's an evolution that's happening. Hold on, there is an evolution that's happening, and those that have been here for the first generation that's been here, of course they're going through it. The second generation that are born here are transforming that, and that's okay. And this is the part where you're going to have to be so comfortable with yourself and comfortable with where we came from in the culture we're in. Be comfortable with what it is. And you do the things that transform that part of it. But don't speak of it as like as you're shaming our people. It's just culture, right? And you are transforming it. We here are transforming that and speaking into the future that it already exists, instead of slamming it, because there's nothing to be gotten from the way that you speak. Like, I'm 50, I'm 51, and the way that I hear that is like we're all a piece of garbage and we don't do anything to transform that part of it. Consider that we here are transforming that. Go ahead, Devil.
I didn't say we were garbage. I'm just saying as we have a habit of accepting being late. We have a habit of our people that want to be late. And like I said, to me is I'm a very punctual person, but the thing is, from the people that I know, even when I worked warehouses, even when I worked a warehouse and construction jobs, the polys I worked with were always late. We're always late. The Mikos were on time, the other people were on time, but the poly would just come late. And this is my own people. So all I'm saying is because we do that in our own personal lives, it translates into the professional world. That's all I'm saying. So, like I said, I'm not shaming it. It's a reality.
Right. It's Will's reality. It's his experience of what he observed in his life. So you speak a lot about experience, and I do agree with Will because he mentioned punctuality. He did mention not being like just bare minimum. Like I want to exceed past that. And based off my experience, and as a Polynesian, yeah, I do observe the same thing. Lack of being punctual to the job. Just meeting mediocre and everything. No, like let's excel. We don't have to, be right here as in like the average. We can excel. And there's nothing wrong with excelling. I think it's just an observation. I wouldn't say like it's something negative. It's an observation of what he experienced in real life.
I truly get that part but the way that I hear it is a fact.
Is it maybe you're misinterpreting his statement because I don't see it the way you're seeing it.
Got it. I'm gonna let that go. I'm gonna hear it the way you hear it.
There's a receiver and there's a sender. I mean,
I got it.
No, so
We argue that it is what it is. I got it.
I think it is a fact. And the reason why what Will was saying, I think it is a fact in the sense, and I think Joe Promasio can relate to this. Aside from Tonga, Samoans can absolutely relate to this because we are in a unique position where one is a U.S. territory, the other one is their own government. Explain to me why you American Samoans are so comfortable that you come here, you're still a national, and yet the guys coming from Upolu are now U.S. citizens. How the hell does that happen? You sit for a decade and do nothing, and yet they come here. They have to work. You already got the handoff of the national citizenship, right? So if you want to talk about punctuality, that's a decade.
Yeah.
Living in here in the U.S., doing nothing, yet everybody from Upolu and their mama is almost all citizens in the entire family. So I think to some degree, to what Will's saying, late. Oh, absolutely. Hell yeah.
There's a reason why you hear the term island time, and we can all define what island time is.
Yeah.
And then there's American time.
We know.
And island time is always like, damn, it's an hour late from the actual time it starts, or 2 hours or 3 hours, because islanders don't start on time. You don't hear, okay, American time, you think it's on time. It's punctual. If that's the case, why is that saying so true? It's prevalent in every Polynesian culture.
Culture. Got it. It's culture. Did we say there is an evolution?
All right, no word.
Hold on.
I hope so.
There's an evolution. And the evolution starts with who?
I hope this next generation
Are you the second generation or your third generation?
Second.
Got it. That's why. That's why. But you're still talking about those old people that's been in the past. Because you're referring to somebody in the past. You're not referring to somebody at is it this moment or is it this generation?
Well, I would say it's the whole. I mean, it's a spectrum of both. I mean, I would say it's all age groups. That based on my experience, because you're big on experience. Based on my experience, I see it in all generations. Wow. In our culture.
Yeah, I got that.
But I mean, you're right. I hope I see an evolution. I hope I see Polynesians like, man, let's change it up. We gotta adapt. We gotta adjust. Let's be better.
Yeah, it is culture. Definitely culture.
Let me ask you this, CLC. In qualification experience, let's first say, for what you do and the mentality that you have to carry with your job and your responsibilities, can you turn to your fellow brothers, your fellow Tongan brothers, and qualify them like that? Can you? Like what I mean by that is can you rely on them without even questioning them? Can you rely on them to do your job without even questioning the morale, without even questioning their experience, without even questioning, if they're even capable? Because I can't with my people. I can't. With Hawaiians and Samoans, I can't. None of them qualify. Well, I should say not none of them qualify. Majority of them don't qualify. And that's what we're trying to convey here.
Yeah.
Is that the reality that we live in is that majority of our people don't qualify for that.
Got it.
For that instance.
Okay, so I have a bunch of Tongan kids that I work with between 25 and 35.
Mm-hmm.
Very reliable.
Okay.
That's my reality. So what I'm saying is, what the hell are you guys doing to people? And I always go back to that. What are you not? Who are you that you're not showing up for those around you to make sure that they're that?
Chelsea, what is it that you do?
I own a gym.
You own a gym?
Yeah.
And you have employees that are Tongan that work for you?
Not employees, like they're independent contractors.
Oh, independent contractors.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I mean, would you say that they're punctual, they have great leadership, they're responsible men?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm not saying majority of Polynesians are like late and have poor work ethic.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that in that sense. I think it also is who you associate. But I know a lot of Polynesian men that are punctual, very smart, and hard workers and disciplined. But I do also see the downside of it, of the island time and whakapiko-piko-ness.
And I totally understand that. And so what I speak to is to forward the conversation, not to bring back what's done in the past and have it exist at this moment. I'm always making sure that the conversation is carried forward. The moment we bring back how dumb and how stupid we are as people is the moment we keep ourselves down. But we can speak life into our people. We enroll people in what's possible for all of them if they show up on time. That's a different conversation.
Right. No, you got a good point. I mean, I went to a wedding this past Saturday. It was a Tongan and a Palangi lady. And that was the first wedding that I've been to where it was actually on time. I was surprised. I was like, oh boy, around 4:00 it started. I was like, oh, yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And guess who was still walking through the doors? The Tongan side of the family. I'm like, damn, all the Palangis are sitting down ready and Tongan just still walking in. But at the same time, but they still started regardless.
Yeah.
But I was like, man, that's culture.
It is a culture. It is culture. Yeah, I got that. And we're moving forward.
Yeah, moving forward. Let's be better. I mean, but also hey, I'll tell you this. Hey, if Siausi was my boss, I'm gonna be 15 minutes on time. I'll be early. I ain't trying to get chewed up by OG Siausi over here.
If you're 5 minutes early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late.
You're late. Facts.
No, but I got you, Will. I told you what to say. Hey, somebody talk. Say something. I don't want to be the only one.
Yeah, I know. Hey, Will, you had another.
About to say something.
Yeah.
You had another question, Will?
Well, I was gonna ask what was the point of the exchange, and we acknowledge that there are realities, and we acknowledge all these things that I don't know. The conversation didn't serve anything to me. We know realities are there, but also at the same time, what values are we actually passing off by having that conversation? Are we going to do something about it? Are we, going to go out into the world and demand every man in our influence that they turn up and be dependable, or are we going to be dependable people ourselves first?
I think that conversation was very valuable.
Okay. Yep.
In the way that it's valuable is that the people that we get to be from here on, and the way that we show up as leaders to showcase who we are and demand more out of people. So the conversation that we get to have, all of us, all 6 of us that are here, the more conversations that we can empower people with what's so, and the workability and how it doesn't work when they show up has an impact on those that are left, that are in the conversation that are left with. Hell yeah. Because we're leaders here.
Yeah, no, Chelsea, you're right. I mean, because where are you at right now, Chelsea? What
San
state?
Diego.
You're in San Diego. I'm in Houston. You have the Bay here, Salt Lake City, New Zealand.
Yeah.
So we have a worldview of how we see Polynesians in our communities.
Yeah.
Can we agree? And so, I get it. Will said one thing about about Polynesian. It was very general, but it's his worldview. It's his perspective of it. Xiaoxi over here said, "What the hell? What world do you guys live in?" Because everybody that I'm around, they're on time, and they're not average. You know what I mean? So I get it. It's a dialogue of how we see our worldviews. I think it's valid.
Yeah. In my experience, when someone says island time to me, I say, shut the hell up. That's not island time. You're just late. Or people are just being late. That's about it. Right. And that's
nice. I like that. I truly like that because we have a way of generalizing who we are. This is the part where I say, no, it's not a Polynesian thing. It's just, for me, like I was late today. I just have it. I'm late.
True.
And I just own it. Yeah, I'm late. Right? It's not a Polynesian thing. Everybody is late. Not every single person in life is punctual as we say. Every one person is always like 5 minutes late.
The irony in that statement, I was late. So that triggered the punctuality statement from Will.
No. I'm not the way that you have me that I am. No.
I'm just joking. I was just joking, bro.
No. Don't joke around here.
Okay.
I'm kidding. I wish I had
So here's to moving forward and don't be late.
No.
Don't joke around here.
No, I'm not like that, man. No, not at all. But I like what you said, Professor, about because we give so much meaning to Tongan being Polynesian stuff. We give so much meaning, but when your white friends are late, it's no big deal.
Because they're white. No, just kidding.
Hold on.
What kind of white friends do you have? All my white friends have always been on time.
I know. Right?
So I guess it's
a different kind of white.
I guess it's safe to move on from this. And if there's anything to take away from it, we have a saying that goes, meaning use the rule of the brain. The only rule of the brain is you have to use your fucking brain. That's the only rule.
I got it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Fight or no fight.
It's actually like a.
I love it, T. I love it.
I have to agree with Professor though. I absolutely ignore people that say, "Oh, I had something going on." No, you're just late, man.
No, you're right. It's crazy. Like I talked to my parents about I'm Tongan, and they said in the islands everything start on time. Church start on time, meetings start on time.
Yeah.
So like my parents, when I hear that island time, they say that's a Western culture.
It's Western thing to say.
Because they're like, no,
you're agreeing, South.
And this is what I mean. It's a reality. That term exists. That term island time exists. And it exists because everyone fucking acknowledges it within our culture.
True.
Just say, shut the hell up. People are late. And that's about it. It's not island time. We're just late. People are just being late. But it exists because every time it's brought up, people are like, oh, yeah, they're just running on island time. Acknowledging the fact that it is a term and it's a reality. I don't. See, I don't know where the hell you conjured up this idea of island time, but people are just being late.
So the solution with that?
You have to take a look at I have it and it comes from Hawaii, right? Things are laid back and everybody's laid back. Really. It may come from Hawaii because the perception of a white mentality that goes to Hawaii and they see that the way that they are, like everything is nice and easy, and that's what they have, it right. And it may come from that. It's not created by Tongans or Polynesian. It's created by a white man, and we're all just stuck with it. We just have it as real. Hey, we're gonna go. It's Hawaiian time. Oh, it's Tongan time.
Right.
Who the hell brings that shit up? We're gonna bring that up.
How crazy is that a white man came up with that and we're over here fighting over? Jeez.
You get me out of that fight.
I'm gonna go. Hey, 007, man. I'm on it, man. You don't bring that shit around here, right?
Oh shit, bro.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah,
the whole time you were pushing back against him, and then we all agree at the same time. At the end.
No, we were just having a conversation, man. This is what I love. This is a conversation. Can you imagine that a 50-year-old having a conversation with a bunch of kotas? I mean, a bunch of kids.
No, I consider you just toxic. You're just talking.
Yeah.
You wait until you get to
Yeah,
my
I
age.
think we should all run for the hills now.
I know, right?
Just jump off the bridge already. Jump off.
Yeah.
Run away. Yeah.
So, no, yeah. I mean, all I was saying, Chelsea, like I said, is like what we practice in private is gonna transition into what we do in public. So, like, if you're gonna be late in your personal life, you're gonna be late in every other part of your life. I've never met somebody that was on time in one part of his life and not on time. Like, if you're a punctual person, you're a punctual person. If you're a late person, you're a late person. And I think if we kind of, like I said, if we have a problem of accepting that oftentimes it translates into other areas of life, especially when it comes to work, and what I've seen. So,
Yeah.
hey, but like I said, yeah.
I got that.
But,
and I still go with what Professor said. You're late, you're late. Stop giving it so much meaning.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Gotcha. No more awareness. No more acknowledgement of island time.
Definitions of island time.
Yeah.
It's created by a white man. I didn't say that.
Hey,
Professor said that.
Will, you have a kava that's called island time? We should turn up to some kava, island time kava.
Fuck island time.
Now, if you're talking about cover and island time, I could definitely subscribe to that.
Yeah, you ain't lying.
Island time. I'm in.
All right, I'll take the first round on me.
All right. I think we've come to the end, fellas. I think we've come to the end. I had I guess there was just one question, but I think this is coming from a girl. I think it's to the fathers on this panel. I think Chelsea, I know you have a daughter, and then Professor, I know you have a daughter, and J Prime and a daughter. I guess we could just finish this off with this last response, and then I don't know, T, if you have a daughter, if you want to respond to it. Z007, you have kids? You have a daughter?
I don't know. Not that I know.
I'll take a stab at it. I got enough kids to take a stab at it.
I'm a good man.
I swear to God.
So this question is coming from I'm Polynesian. My dad my dad is old school, very traditional, very religious. She said that let me see and read the message on Instagram. Give me 1 second. Pull it up. Oh, how do I tell my dad that I'm sexually active? That was her question.
How old is this person?
I don't know the age. She doesn't want her dad to find out from people. But her dad's hardcore, traditional, religious, the Tongan dad, very, very strict on her. She's very strict. But she wants to be upfront and tell her dad instead of finding out from people that she's no longer a virgin. So, like, how do you, as a Tongan girl who grew up in that situation, how does she have that conversation with that type of dad? With that, we all know about dads like that. Maybe we've had dads like that.
Trust your father that your father already knows. Trust that your father already knows.
Yeah,
that's it. Your father already knows.
Well, I think from her question, I think the dad doesn't know, and she wants to have that conversation without him finding out on his own.
Trust that your father knows.
I think the only concern is that if she's worried that her dad might find out. How active are you having sex, though? You gotta be that concerned. I mean, if it's to one person, I understand, but if the phase part, I don't know. I guess we need a little bit more to it.
Well,
I think it's very dependent on the age. How old are you? If you're an adult, me personally, as a father, I personally wouldn't give a shit. I mean, if she's adult, if she wants to be fucking home, she can go be fucking home. That's not my problem. That's her problem. She's gonna have to deal with her future husband. Other than that, if you are not an adult, that's a really hard subject for a father. And if you are an adult and it's a really hard subject for you, taking into consideration that if you're consistently relying on your parents, it can create bigger issues than you think it may. And that's probably what the worry is coming from. Because I've seen this time and time again with Mormon girls here that are Polynesian with a Mormon father, and they're sexually active and their father has no clue. And so it all depends on what kind of relationship you want to have with your father. You know, it comes down to, if you're being an adult and you're doing your own thing and you're paying your own bills and you're not having to rely on your parents so much, so, you know, you got to take in consideration, is this going to be a deal breaker? Are you going to be disavowed from your family? That's something that you can take into consideration. On top of that, Paula Fessa brought this up before, you know, it will eat you alive. It will eat women alive based on the thought process of, you know, having to release a secret. You know, it will eat you before it eats them. And so it's like, if you want to avoid that, then tell them, and then don't, I don't want to say don't rely on your parents, but, you know, don't be taking money from your dad. Don't ask your dad for money. Don't be doing that kind of stuff, and just be your own person. Because once you're your own person, it shouldn't matter what your parents think. You know, like, I could not do what I do today and take the risks that I take if I relied on my parents, because my parents are very limited on what their ambitions are compared to what my ambitions are, you know. And I get that we're talking about sex in this sense, you know, but your parents are very limited based off the factualization that they are, you know, very religious. And so you want to take that into consideration. Are you relying on your parents? And is this a deal breaker for your father? You need to take that into consideration. And it's you got to remember, this is going to eat you alive before it eats them alive. And so it really depends on your father. If you're an adult, be an adult. Be a fucking adult. Just tell them straight up. Just be like, this is the way that I live my life, Dad. I mean, it's going to be a lot harder if you're relying on your parents to pay for all your phone bill, for your insurance, for your rent, or if you're living in their household. You know, you really have to take everything into consideration and really work on that point of view.
Damn,
because
man.
it's, yeah.
You make things sound so complicated. Like, this is the problem with human beings, that make shit so complicated instead of just having communication. Like,
Simplify.
all these considerations, all this going to be built up so much consideration, too much consideration for us to sit on our own shit. It's just a conversation.
We need some cover.
It's just a conversation.
Okay, I'm speaking from personal experience. So I'll throw my cousin. I won't say her name. My cousin, same thing. She got her ass whooped, like, to the point where it was, okay, this is somewhat abusive. So if she's like that, yes, you do need to take shit into consideration. Of course you do. But if you're an adult, be a fucking adult and just tell them. Straightforward.
It's we have to also understand this from a woman's perspective. This is being asked by a woman. So if your father is an old school Tongan man, this is how I see it. Figure out why he stands on those values. And regardless of what you do, you already portrayed the value that he believes in. So there's that. But you need to understand why, and then live your life accordingly to whatever you believe in. You can have that conversation, but having a relationship breaking that you don't understand why will kill you more than understanding why your father thinks the way that he thinks. It's not so much about the sex. You know you have betrayed a value that your father has stood on since the dawn of time. Understand that, and then go and live your life accordingly. He's not going to stop you. He may give you a hiding, but you're going to make the decision based on yourself. You're worried about disappointing him and him finding out that you had defeated a value and a purpose. He lived his life accordingly, and he wished his children had it. The best thing you can do is have a conversation to understand why he believes the things he does, and then go live your life. You've already defeated a part of that value. The very fact that you are scared of talking to him about it knows exactly that he has it as a value. Your only choice from now is understanding why, and build a relationship where you can still come back to him and say, I know I've lived my life in opposite of what you believe in. I still want a relationship with you, and I want to understand you as a man, but I have to live my life and make my decision. Now, I'm not agreeing with what you're doing, but you have to figure out who your father is. Sounds like you don't. And the fear of having that conversation is why you don't want to have it.
That's more of a conversation than the way that Joe Prime was talking about. Like that shit was just all bunch of garbage. And truly understanding what communication is, it's simple. I just get to tell you what the hell is really going on, and it's that simple. And you're talking about values. Your father's values are his. You don't have to live into your father's value.
True.
Nobody has to live into that value that you're brought up with. But the moment that you can get that the magic is in the word, is that the magic is truly in words, and when you can truly get that, what's possible when you know that your life, the way you live your life is through your word, and the way you communicate. It's the fear, like the professor was talking about, it's that fear that people will look into, right? What is my father thinking? What is he going to do? And so what he does, the fact that you get to be free and you get to take ownership and power in who you are, that you get to speak what's there for you. That's where real power is at. Not in that consideration of all these things. It really doesn't matter what everybody thinks. Like, you got to speak for yourself and have your power be out here in your communication. But if you want to sit down and really have a great relationship, like Professor is talking about, figure out who your parent is, figure out what his value is, and speak on his value. And so you can own who you are. The moment you get to own who you are, his value then is validated, and you're also validated. But we're all looking, but I have it that she's looking for validation of who she is. So consider, like Professor's talking about, go and search out, figure out who your father is and what his values, and speak on his values and speak on your own values, so that there is a connection. What's missing, what I'm hearing is that there's a missing in the way that they are in the relationship, a daughter and a father relationship. And she's overwhelmed with that my father is this old timer and is really religious, right? So definitely take a look in your relationship and go figure out how to make it work, that you can be free to say what you need to say.
Right.
None of this nonsense. Joe, Prime time.
There's many routes you can take. You have the dad's religious, he's traditional. That guy, he's not gonna, how would I say? No, in his position, he would not want his daughter to be a hoe, walking around being a hoe. Like, he didn't raise her to be going around and being sexually active. But the reality is, you got to speak about values, the father's values, and then her values. So think about it. You have a traditional man, probably was born and raised in the islands. Then you have probably a daughter, assumption, born and raised here in the U.S. or in America, let's say, just assumption. So you have conflicting values there. Where here in the Western world, you're sexually active. Her friends, her circle is probably very sexual active. Her close circle is probably sexual active. Then it's conflicting with her father's worldview and perception of traditional roles and perspectives. So yeah, it's a tough situation for her. My thing is this: if her conscience is bothering her to the point where she can't sleep, she's losing sleep at night, go have a conversation with your father. But if it's to the point where, hey, you're an adult and you're not, smashing like 5 guys, different guys, you have a boyfriend that you're actually sexually active with, then keep it to yourself. If you're an adult woman and you're sexually active, but you still want the approval of your father and you're concerned, okay, it's cool. You know what I mean? But at the same time, if your conscience is bothering you, then go have a conversation. There's nothing wrong with that. Because, like, I know Polynesian women, they value their father's approval. And blessing, if you want to say. So I get it. But this whole value thing, that's a tough one, because Polynesian traditional value and perspective of the world conflicts with the Western world. And so, good luck with that.
No, it's not to. The thing is, you're never going to change a lot of the values that old timers have. And they've built their survival based on that. The problem is not so much the sex or the conflict in values. The problem is that she does not understand why he upholds those values. Hence why she hasn't followed it. And to get you closer to your father in that relationship, you have to have that conversation of, why do you have the values that you have and why do you stand by those principles? she will get to understand where her father is a lot more. The problem is not that she's having sex. The problem is she doesn't understand his value. Hence why she hasn't lived up to it.
Is it
Right.
possible she
And-
understands the value, but at the same time, she's sexually active? She understands where he's coming from, but I accept where he's coming from, but I'm going to choose what I feel like my body desires, what I want.
Yeah, and
Can
she
you have
wouldn't-
that?
She wouldn't be asking that question then.
No, yeah.
She would have lived her life based on her own values. Okay, I accept my father. That's his value. This is my value. I'll live accordingly. The reason why she's asking is she wants to know why he upholds it. And like you said, a lot of our daughters seek the approval of fathers. And it's that approval of, I need to understand your father. You have betrayed his values, but that's not the main point. The main point is how can you maintain the relationship from here on out? And to maintain is to understand why he upholds that value. And to build that relationship with him. Right?
Gotcha. No, that makes a good point, man. I mean, I don't have any daughters or kids, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had interesting experiences, but it's crazy. I couldn't imagine that.
But I think, like I said earlier, I trust that your father knows that you're doing what you're doing. We're not like we're all men. We're still men. We know what guys go and what guys do, and we know what women do. It doesn't matter how old you are. Just trust that your father knows what the hell is going on, and you're scared in your own way because you have no idea what's really going on.
True.
And you may not know that he knows what he knows.
True.
Right? So if there's nothing else to do other than keep it to yourself, like really go have a conversation so you can build a relationship. Because the moment you can say that out loud to your father, like there's something that something is broken, or not that's broken, that's something that's truly going on, that you can then go to work on whatever it is that relation that you need to have with your father.
Do you think it's more she's asking more because there's people that might tell her father that she's sexually active, or she's afraid of his response that she's not?
She's afraid of losing the relationship with her father.
Yeah,
That's what
losing the
she's really afraid
relationship.
of.
Lose that relationship.
Being disavowed from
Being
the family.
being disowned, cut off from
So
the family.
that's the important part, is that you've already gone against the values that your father uphold. The point of what I'm trying to convey is try and understand it and try and build that relationship by understanding your father a lot better than, because what's fear convey out of? There's things that we conjure up in our imagination based on what could and what if. Have that conversation and figure out where your father stands. And then if you can build a relationship, do it. And if it doesn't happen that way, move on as an adult.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
But the you know.
Yeah.
Go on, T.
I want to ask you
Go ahead,
guys, because there's four we have four Tongan brothers on the panel. How does Tongans view relationship within religions, and how does that usually go?
How do Tongans view what?
Like, how do you guys usually deal with like kids having relationships, or relationships like couples within they're not married, but you guys can say that you guys are okay that they've announced that they're together. Is that like a thing within you, the church?
I think it's an individual thing. It's truly an individual. It's truly based on the relationship that I built with my daughter. And I don't.
No, so because if he's such a religious man, almost everything that he does it's purely religious focused, right? Therefore, that has that value. Where if he finds out that she's already had sex, religion has a heavy influence on that, to where it's like, oh, you a sinner, and yet you've betrayed my trust too. I would say go Paulo Fisser's route, and what Shoshi was talking about. Have a conversation with your father. Then I would suggest put it in front of the church. I promise you, ain't nobody gonna talk shit about you when you guys come clean. This is who I'm with. If you guys are still together, right? Because religion has such a heavy focus to where it's either we meet in the middle with culture, or we're just gonna cop out completely on either side. But since it's religion, if you come clean in front of everybody after talking to your dad, why do you uphold so much of these values, whether it's religion based, whether it's culture based, whether it's both? Figure out a way from there I would say put it in front of the church too.
I
Let
disagree.
people know that
Nah.
that you guys did it.
I
Because
disagree.
ain't nobody
The
gonna talk
reason
smack
why-
about you after that.
I disagree.
The reason why I brought up consideration is the fact that T can actually corroborate this. In the Samoan culture, if you're a daughter and you're sleeping around, you get your ass whooped. That's the difference. You get your ass whooped 9 times out of 10. You're getting your ass whooped and your hair's being cut. That's it. That's it for you. That's it for you. There is no understanding your father. There is no understanding how I'm gonna be. There's none of that shit, especially when it's religious based.
Okay, no. The thing here is this is not the Old Testament. We're not stoning
Yeah.
people to death, cutting people's hair
No.
off.
But I'm saying culturally speaking, within the Samoan culture, there is no understanding your father at that point. You went against his value and his very religious base. You're getting your ass whooped and your hair cut.
If she's an adult,
Even if she's an adult, within the Samoan culture, they're bare bone to the T when it comes to religious factor.
Gotcha.
And that's the reason why I say take into consideration what is the outcome that you want, and it's like I get where you guys are coming from. I don't disagree with you guys one bit, but the reason why I said my answer is taking into consideration is because those are things that I've seen for myself. I've watched my cousins go through it. I've watched other women go through it. I've watched plenty of women in Samoa go through it, and it's not a pretty picture at all. And they blast that shit out. They put that shit out like she's a slut.
But the thing is this is not the Scarlet Letter. We're not gonna go and put out there that she's a hoe and she slept with her boyfriend. How does that apply to today? In modern day, in the Western world,
that's what I'm saying. If her conscience, it's not just guilty conscience. If she's so worried, it has to be this circle of people, not this big, but this, for her to be so worried that we can rule out that the circle of people that knows about her having sex around is not this small. It has to be this big for her not to be so worried about somebody saying something.
Okay,
just to say something.
T. Okay.
We gotta wrap it up, fellas.
Real quick. If this is her, if the sin that she's committing, sexual sin, who's it against? Her father or the father?
It's still her. That's why I'm saying if you're approaching it's always a two-way street, because it's either we meet culture in the middle with religion. That's why this one is a tough one. You can call it both ways. It's either one.
Let me break it down where it's not tough. Let me break it down where it's not tough. If you're living at home, abide by your parents' rule.
After Paulo Festa, we gotta.
If you're living at home, understand the consequences of your actions, of betraying your father's values. And if you want to be a woman and be sexually active, look for a man that you can be sexually active with and he can look after you and you're away from the home. We're complicating a simple thing that we can talk about. Move out of the home if you're fearful of the consequences of your action. But you still need to understand why your father believes the things that he believes, whether it's religious motivated, whether it's culture, whatever it is. It sounds like the relationship with your father is important enough that it's guilt tripping you to the point that it does. If you're a full-grown adult living outside a home, just doing you, get that relationship back by understanding who your father really is. Doesn't sound like you do. And if you're at home, you better figure out that shit real quick. There are other complications out of it. But you still need to understand who your father is and why he believes the things that he believes, whether it's religion, all those things. I'm not saying just go, I'm a hoe, I'm out here in these streets. Go and sit down with your father and go, this is something we don't practice. Can we have a conversation? And can we have a conversation about you and who you are as a man? Where did you grow up and why do you believe in the things that you believe? Why do you believe that women are sinners if they go and sleep around? Understand that first. You don't even have to talk about sex. You don't even have to mention I'm a hoe or I'm having sex. Understand your father and then figure out how you can move out of his house as soon as you can if you want to still follow the values that you do. That's part of growing up. That's part of being an adult. Yeah. And if you know your ass is going to get whooped, maybe pull back and going out and getting, sleeping on the streets and whatever, whatnot.
Okay. All right, no worries. Thank you, Paulo Fessa. We have come to the end of the podcast. Thank you so much, everybody that's still watching. If you're still watching this right now, shout out to everybody on the man. That was a good way to end up the conversation. And I would say this: if she's watching this right now, in the eyes of a tradition, this is a really hardcore traditional, hardcore talent, man. If you, as soon as you have sex, you're considered a hoe already. That's just the way the culture sees it when it comes to women. It doesn't matter if it's one person or five. It's just as soon as you have sex and you're not married, they just see you that way. It is what it is, but you gotta have that conversation. That's just the way. That's just what I see with how those people talk about it. But anyways, we have come to the end. Thank you, fellas. We had a good. Thank you for the last Mastermind podcast for 2022. Open Q&A. Thank you for everybody that's watching this right now. Thank you for everybody that sent me messages. I know we didn't go through a lot of. There's a lot of questions and topics that we didn't get to answer. Don't worry, we'll definitely probably try this out for 2023. We have more open Q&As, and you guys have the opportunity to ask your questions. Shout out to everybody in the live chat. Thank you so much, MC Carroll, Justin Wilson, Phoenix, Son, Marlena Davidson. All you guys have asking these questions. But fellas, same thing. Thank you so much. Shout out to you guys for taking the time to be part of the panel and to end off this year for 2022 for tonight's podcast. But what's your final thoughts, and how can people find you guys? I'll start with you, Z007. Final thoughts, and how can people find you? Thank you for jumping on as a public guest.
No
Go ahead, Z007.
Final thoughts for the guy that asked about the six figures. If you mentioned that you're in construction, your family's in construction, you can get involved in that in the sense of maybe starting the marketing side of it, doing the sales side of it, and literally coordinating the whole company, because a lot of the Polynesians are not really like OGs. They're not really good with that. You can coordinate that and literally scale that business out of it, family business. To the religious woman or the lady that's has a high body count, she is religious and she's dating a religious guy. If your conscience is bothering you, go ahead, have that conversation. I don't see it as a secrecy thing. That's the whole point of dating. You're dating to get to know. He should be asking questions, same as you. It goes back and forth. But it's right. See how she said, there is a sense of freedom you get out of it if you do have that conversation. But it's dating. Ask the questions. And then to the last one in regards to the dad's religious, old school, and she's sexually active with her boyfriend or many guys. Again, if your conscience is bothering you, have that conversation. If you really value your dad's opinion and approval, he's the first guy in your life, and he should be the model of what you should be looking for in a man. If you respect him highly, definitely have that conversation. And how you can find me, right here in the Discord, Z007. Have Merry Christmas. Have a good one.
All right, thank you so much, Z007. Thank you for jumping on. Pass it to you, T. T, final thoughts, and how can people find
you? Find me on the Discord or G-Chat. I'm usually on there. The whole Google platforms. J Prime knows. tjwilicia@gmail.com. As always, it's always a pleasure to come on here and share our thoughts. And we kind of learn and understand, the different specifics within each culture, whether it's Hawaiian culture, Tongan, Samoan. At the end of the day, I wish all these guys were closer so we can all just sit around and just do and have good conversation for hours. Probably pretty good dialogue. I try to find, as always, I try to find truth within my madness through humor and to not make everything sound too expensive. That's why we have Paulo Fessa, which is like the perfect package. Give it to you like this. And J Prime, which is, they are already expensive enough. Leave the other inexpensive stuff to me and Tiosi. We do just fine. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I hope you guys, stay safe and hope to see you in the next year. Will, always a pleasure, Toko. Always a pleasure being on here. Thank you for having me. And I hope you enjoy your holidays, man. Thanks.
No worries. Thank you, T. Hey, T, I have to say, T, your take on telling the whole church, bro, you're wild, bro. You are wild.
No, it happens, yo. It happens. It's a quicker way for you to, should you pack and leave, or we can handle this way.
Anyway, yeah, it's all good. You're gonna get her crucified. But anyways, hey.
Given that that's the one. Given that that's the one.
I say slap people.
All right, Noah's T. Always appreciate your wild takes, but always appreciate part of the podcast and be part of the conversation. Pass it to you, J Prime. J Prime, final thoughts and how can people find you?
Final thoughts. On the six-figure kid, join the Discord. Hit us up. Message me if you're watching this. As for all the other questions, I mean, I think TLC said it best. It really does come down to communication, what you're trying to convey. Paulo Fessa made a great point as well. If you're trying to hold that relationship, either or, whether it be a father or a spouse, you really need to come to terms with it and understand both sides, not just your side, but also their side. Other than that, as always, Will, thank you. And for the panel, thank you guys for having me here. Oh, for the six-figure kid, real quick, I'll leave a little nugget for you. If you can figure out how to make $480 a day, working 5 days a week, 50 weeks out of the year, you'll hit that six-figure mark. It's a quick little nugget for you. If you can figure out how to make $480 a day, that's with a 2-week vacation every single year, and you'll hit that six-figure mark. Other than that, signing off for 2022.
That's without OnlyFans, though, bro. Just please stay away from that shit.
All right. J Prime, as always, thank you so much. Be part of the podcast. Pass it to you. Paulo Fessa, final thoughts.
Oh, man. I think what we've started with the masculine mind is something that I look forward to. And I'm excited for 2023. And to the panel of men that I get the honor and the privilege to say expensive words around. Thank you for having me. I think this is where I'm more aligned with Chelsea than most people realize, is that we're a true student of life in its most truest essence, is that we look at life in our own experiences and the decisions that we make, and we look at it and we go, how can I make that decision a lot better? How can I transition every year and become a better man in the way that we do? So any man who's looking for answers, my word of encouragement or word of endearment is vast majority of the answers are either within you or already around you. It's just figuring out which lens you can see those solutions. Sometimes it's having to take off your parents' lens and look at it from your own, or sometimes it requires you to look at it from your parents'. But they are around you. What we're doing here is just giving you a shimmer of light of where they might be. We don't have the answers. You do. And only you can figure out where those answers lie. We can just show you what we've found for ourselves. We can show the little shiny coin we've collected in our own journey. But it's up to you to collect your own and to see your own. And to the women, look, find us in the Discord. That's where we are. But also at the same time, look after yourselves in the truest sense. You hold a lot of power in terms of preservation of our generation and who gets to go forward in life and to build the next level of society for our children. That's a lot of power. And it's one well deserving of you. I think as men, we are so good at excelling at protecting those things that, given if we were the one to produce life, we wouldn't be able to handle it in our own essence. So you have a lot of beauty and powerful control in your hand. The only ask that we do is that you help us provide those things that you require, and vice versa. To the men, 2022 has been an absolute pleasure, and I am always grateful that I've got to meet you guys virtually. Next year I will be coming over to the state with my family in April, and I hope to see many of you. Well, again, always thank you for having me, and keep doing what you're doing. I think it's serving a greater purpose than what we currently see, and I see big things for you next year.
All right. Thank you, Dogo. Paulo Fessa, as always. Appreciate you being part of the podcast. And last but not least, Chelsea, final thoughts, and how can people find you?
Woo, final thought. Man, what a privilege it is to be here and just to have a simple conversation. To having the ability to sit here as men, as Polynesian men on top of that, sit here and have a dialogue. Because what I'm hearing is that we're really having a dialogue. And it's the most important part of who we are and what we get to share. And the evidence that we leave behind for those that are, the future generation, that is, that they can always look up this type of conversation and see what's possible for them. So I want to acknowledge all you men for being here and having the ability to sit and hear things out, process things the way that you process it, and still yet we can still have an awesome conversation. And I'm going to leave you guys with, it's just communication. See and hear things as just communication. There's no arguments. There's nothing other than it's just communication. And look from, if everything is just communication, what is possible if we're able to talk things out? I love you all. That's all I got.
All right. Siasi, thank you so much. Don't forget, I just posted the Discord link on the YouTube live chat. So if you're watching this right now, you want to be part of our Discord, I encourage you guys to jump on the Discord. It's a group chat where we can continue these conversations offline. If you have any questions or topics, or you want to talk to us individually one-on-one, the best way to do that, communicate to us, is through the Discord group chat. So if you support the podcast, love the conversations, want to reach out to us individually, join us on the Discord and find us at the Discord. I just posted the link on the YouTube live chat. And as always, thank you so much, everybody, watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and shout out to all you guys been watching the Mastermind since we introduced the Mastermind every single Friday. Shout out to you guys, especially BL17, MSD Carol, always the first ones on the live chat, always supporting and liking the channel. And thank you so much for the fellas, always making the time. I know you guys are busy, but always taking the time to be part of the conversation, have real, honest, unfiltered, and raw conversations. Thank you so much. 2022 has been a blast. Appreciate everybody, and we can't wait to go into 2023. We got some big plans, big things planned for next year. So we'll see you guys there. We'll make it happen. All right, see you guys, and don't forget, next year, no island time. No island time next year. All right.
No island time.
On time.
Man.
All right, peace, y'all. You guys are good. Good night, y'all. See you guys.